Happy Friday. I am Chris Gore from Film Threat. This is the Film Threat Livecast on a Friday. We've got a lot to talk about today. Happy you're going to spend your morning and or afternoon if you're on the East Coast. Or if you're in another part of the world, who knows? Good evening, good afternoon, good morning. Hello to you all. What are we talking about today? It's a big, big day. We're talking about Amsterdam, which is in theaters. Tar. We'll be talking about Tar, Kate Blanchett's new film. In addition, Terrifier 2, Rings of Power Episode 7, She-Hulk Episode 8, and interviews with the director of Terrifier 2, director Damien, Leone, and Operation Seawolf writer-director Stephen Luke. We'll be on the show later today. It's going to be a big show. So strap in. Also, we'll be celebrating 50,000 subs on the Film Threat YouTube channel. We have a very special video treat just for you. We've been saving this for a while. We've been saving this one for a while. When we get to a certain milestone, we are going to reveal this video, and I cannot wait to show it to you. Let's get started. It's the Film Threat Livecast on a Friday. Get ready. Alan Ng is joining me.
Hey,
Alan, how's it going, man?
Good. Hey, you're I've been reading the comments here. You're very mole phobic.
I don't care. You can call me mole phobic. I'm not going to apologize. There is a certain type of mole that you see often turn up called a beauty mark. It's usually right here, right? You'll see it on many classic Hollywood actresses have that mole. It's usually not too large, and that's called a beauty mark. But almost any other type of mole somewhere, yeah, I'm a mole phobe. Fine, it's distracting. Why? Alan said I was getting eviscerated in the chat. I don't think I was getting eviscerated.
You are getting eviscerated, but there are a lot of mole comments in the comments of the last video.
Oh,
the smile review.
All right. Okay. Well. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll do. So whatever.
It's okay. Just embrace who you are. If you don't like it, you don't like it. You know.
You know what? I do not apologize. I do not apologize for that. So I have to do a little setup as we get going, but we should see who is in the chat. Here we go. Oh, no. John Manilang, I'm actually curious about the She-Devil episode review. We're going to talk about it. I couldn't believe it. I have a lot of things to say.
I have finally turned on She-Hulk. So
I saw your tweet. I've
gotten some interesting comments from my friends about that.
All right, well, good. CD Stein 69, who's a member. Hail Chris, Allen, and the FT chat. Going to be a good show today. Oh, I can tell you for sure. Guess this. Hello, FT chat. Hope we get a rant today. Rants. I want rants to be special. It's got to be about something. I think I do have a rant because I saw a trailer for a movie that I thought had some potential, and then something happened during the trailer. This is on the. We'll get to it. We'll get to it. Amanda Nowicki, smash that like button like She-Hulk smashes. Never mind. Yeah, confirmation. Jen Walters, kind of she's loose in some ways.
Yeah. No, we need to save it. We need to save this for.
All right, we'll save it. Guess this. So now Disney has ruined 3 MCU established characters: Hulk, Hawkeye, and Daredevil. I hate them so much. Alan Horkin, ahoy! Least worst episode of She-Hulk, still a terrible, unfunny, exciting, unexciting show. Pilgrim for 2. Thank you for that. Hail Film Threat. We love you guys in Tampa. Hey, hope you're doing well in Florida as the cleanup continues. Just sending good vibes out your way.
I think someone on Discord. I think someone on Discord said that Gary liked the last episode of She-Hulk.
Yeah, I think that that's a joke.
Okay.
Guess this justice. Is it a hard G or a soft G? Let us know. Oops, forgot about Falcon and Winter Soldier. Make that 5. Yeah, that's true. How's your father? Says, is Chris Gore going to be on Friday Night Tights tonight? Yes, if I survive. It's when you are, I can't do I'm exhausted after doing like 2.5 hours here. I don't know if I'll survive, but yes, I'm supposed to be on Friday Night Tights. I don't know that I'll last until the end. We'll see. Terrifier 2 was absolutely filthy. Douchey McDouche X. We're going to talk about it. Shucksy, it's okay, Chris. I'm mole-phobic too. See? Goober, mole. Patrick Lemire, mole. Of course. Cindy Crawford's mole is the beauty mark, says John Manaling. Exactly. That's a beauty mark. It's the placement of it. There's something about it. And why does that recur in so many beautiful women? Like, I don't know. I'm sure there's
Madonna in that category too.
I don't know. I want to see Alan Hulk out over this today. All right. You might. And Alan turned on She-Hulk. Disney check bounced, says Alan Workin. Thank you for that comment, VDR. Shucksy, smash that like button with a freaking IKEA chair. Chris, you're in good company with Austin Powers with the mole. Look, when a mole is so prominent that it's distracting, it's a problem. I mean, they made a joke about it in Austin Powers. So obviously, this is, I'm not the only one. Horror Punk. Hey, where do I sign up to be a member on here? Or do I have to go to FD's website? There's usually a join button. There is, if you go just to,
I think it's our channel page.
It's the channel page. If you go to the channel page, it says join. It should say.
Actually, I think there's a link on the YouTube page as well, a join button there, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. If you just go to the channel sort of front page, it'll say join. So simple as that. Horror Punk would love to have you as a member. And Alan Horkin says, not liking things is not a phobia. I'm not broccoli phobic. See, there you go. Yeah, no, I don't like. First of all, I actually love broccoli. Why do I love broccoli? My mother tricked me when I was a child. And she tried to get me to eat broccoli. And she knew that I loved Toho monster movies, Godzilla movies, all the Godzilla, Ghidorah, Rodan, all Gamera, all that. She's like, you're a monster and those are trees. Those are little trees. You should be a monster and eat those trees. So I'm literally probably like 5-6 years old. And I just got used to, I love broccoli to this day. And I credit my mother for tricking me.
Yeah, my daughter loves Brussels sprouts. And the trick there was cook it in bacon fat.
Oh, that's a good, I like that.
I mean, ultimately, if you want your kids to like food, cook it well. Make it taste good and they'll eat it.
Wait, I don't understand this comment. Latino Slant, Paulie, shout out to you. Morning in an Amazon haze of representation. Help, Chris. What does that mean? Amazon
just haze? Rings of Power, or is it? Are you watching other?
Oh, right, yeah. Because I'm thinking Amazon, or do you mean Namor? I don't know what we're talking about. Isn't Namor now from? Namor has like a new origin now. So
he's not from Atlantis. No, he has to be from Atlantis.
He has to be from Atlantis, and he's kind of like half Atlantean, half human.
Well, that's Namor.
That's exactly.
I mean, that's his origin story.
Oh my God. Look, I'm assuming Paulie means Rings of Power, which we'll get to. We get to. Johnny Fuerte, excited to hear the Amsterdam review. People are destroying it so far. We'll get to it. Andrew Eterno, who's a member. Robert De Niro's mole ain't distracting. Yeah, there's certain moles that are just, I don't know, man. It's really, your mole mileage may vary. How about Pilgrim for 2? How about a beauty with a mole and a tooth gap? Even better. Tooth gap can work. A tooth gap can work. It really is.
Yeah. Isn't that Madonna then? Doesn't Madonna have a tooth gap and a mole?
There you go. She's the perfect combo. The Luke Deckard Show. It also says join next to subscribe. All right. Let's get into it. I am pissed. I'm pissed, and we don't have a proper background for this. So I'm just gonna go to that. Something like that, maybe this. But I want to talk about the trailer for Super Mario. Okay, so the trailer for Super. Okay. Look. This is going to be a very simple rant about Super Mario. It needs to be said. A freaking IKEA chair. Okay. So the trailer for Super Mario comes out. Here it comes, Infinite Main. The rant is incoming. The trailer for Super Mario came out, and it's from Illumination Studios. And I played the Super Mario games on the original NES, the Super NES, of course. But the best Super Mario game of all of them is Mario 64. Super Mario 64 for the Nintendo 64. They literally built a game console to play one game, because the way that they have the really unique, everyone knows what that Nintendo 64 controller looked like. It was amazing. I don't know why they just didn't like continue with that design, maybe make some improvements, but that game was amazing. I was obsessed with it. It was a beauty to watch. If I wasn't playing it, I could sit there and be mesmerized watching someone play it. It wasn't just the visuals, it was the sound design. And, we saw Bowser at the beginning of this Super Mario trailer, but then what happens is we kind of go to this idyllic mushroom land where, of course, we see for a moment Mario in this trailer. And then, as you look at the surroundings, you're like, oh my God, this is like a high resolution version of the Nintendo 64 game. You've even got like the star. Bowser, grabs the star, that star from the Super Mario 64 game. Loved it. And then Mario spoke. And Chris Pratt, putting no effort into this performance, is Chris Pratt. Chris Pratt is Chris Pratt as the voice of Mario. It's stupid. It doesn't work. This is terrible, and it's on the level to me of Sonic. Now, thankfully, with Sonic, when the original sort of weird, he had those weird teeth, and that first trailer for Sonic came out, and there was people complained about it. They were pissed. Like, that does not look like Sonic. It was like this creepy sort of human hedgehog hybrid that just didn't look like Sonic at all. It was not a good visual representation of how one might imagine Sonic in a movie. What did the filmmakers do? They stopped. They said, okay, we're going to take a step back. They redesigned Sonic. Now they put out two decent movies. They're just fun. Okay. They're not bad for what they are. It's a Sonic movie. Okay. Chris Pratt is the voice of Mario is terrible. And this is what I'm upset about. Celebrity actors playing the voices of characters for what they think they're going to get a bump from some promotion because Chris Pratt is likable, he is famous, but he is not Mario. I'm sorry to tell you. Okay. He did get buffed out for a Marvel movie, as Star-Lord, right? He really, in Parks and Rec, he was pretty doughy. And he was very likable, but he put in the effort. He doesn't sound like Mario. My vision for the voice of Mario comes right from that Mario 64 game. Once they got to that game, they perfected it. And can we just hire good voice actors? Actors! There's a reason the term voice actor exists. Chris Pratt is just stunt casting. Yeah, Chris Pratt, everyone likes him. He was in that Lego movie. Okay. So they thought, well, the Lego movie, that worked. That's because we hadn't heard the voices of the Lego characters. For the most part, in the Lego, in Lego content, the characters don't even speak. Okay. So once we got to the Lego movie, we didn't know what Legos sounded like. Chris Pratt was fine in the Lego movie. He is not Mario. He's just not Mario. It's not too late. Back off, make a change. This movie is going to be a disappointment because the voice of your lead character doesn't sound like the character that we've been watching and playing for decades, been playing Mario. And when you got to that Nintendo 64 version of Mario and they could finally put in that's his voice. I don't care. Yes, he's Italian. He's a plumber. He has almost like it's like Mickey Mouse. If Mickey Mouse was Italian, that's Mario. Okay. It's, it is what it is. And it's delightful. It's not too late to recast Chris Pratt, and I would do it. I think it's that bad. And I'm pissed. And the trailer, like, it just ruined everyone I know. I sent it to a couple of people of mine friends of mine who I know, like, love Mario. And we were all like, what is with this voice? It sucked. It's terrible. And they got to fix it. A freaking IKEA chair. So those are my thoughts. And here we go. Yeah. VDR. Chris, no, I did not. No, Chris. I loved the Super Mario trailer. I loved it except for the voice. There you go. Chris Pratt's voice didn't even bother me. I think you're wrong. Rant. Yeah. Pratt sounds nothing like Mario. My only issue, says Back Fiendish 2 on Indiegogo. Yeah, yeah.
I've had friends on Facebook basically say that they're glad that he didn't do the racist Italian accent.
How is it racist?
I know that exactly.
How is an accent? Look, if you're leaning into
can white people be racist against white people?
Do you know that in real life people have accents? They just have accents. They do. I'm sorry. If it's not your native language or whatever, you're speaking English and you came from somewhere else, you're probably going to have an accent. It's not a big deal. Nobody cares.
This is the other thing. Do you go see animated films because of the voice actors? Because of a famous star doing a voice? And I would say no. I don't think I ever think about seeing an animated film because so-and-so did the voice in it. Maybe Super Pets, but that's about it.
I love the animation for Mario, but can we at least get some real voice acting from the cast? What are these people paid for, says Captain Cook. Amanda Nowicki, Chris Pratt collecting that paycheck. Trevor, Pearl Harbor, Mario's voice ruined what optimism I had for the movie. They really should not have had him speak. He rarely does in the games. Laugh my ass off. John Manling, Pratt didn't bother me at all. I'll need to hear and see more of him in the movie. Back Fiendish 2 on Indiegogo says, laugh my ass off. I hope they pay attention to the free market research and get him back in studio to revoice it. Yeah.
They could still do it.
I wish Bob Hoskins was still around. I like him as an older New York Mario. Yeah, says Phil Gone. It's kind of had like a Jersey accent, which is fine. Chris Pratt didn't want to culturally appropriate the Italian accent, maybe. Culturally appropriate. How is it culturally appropriate? Like, I don't know. I think that is such a loose term now. Did the civilization that invented pants, is everyone culturally appropriating pants now? Like, look, I get that there are some things like you kind of like when it goes too far, you kind of know it. You're like, yeah, but like, come on. He is an Italian plumber.
This begs the question. On the flip side, do you want to hear for 90 minutes Chris Pratt doing a lame Italian accent?
No. How's your father? Says Mario should be voiced by a real Italian plumber representation. And Pilgrim for 2. CLD. What's CLD?
Old. Is it? Oh, could Pratt
been cast just to make him look bad? I don't know. I don't think that they would do that. There's money involved. Andrew Oterno, it's only racist to people who don't speak other languages. And Luther Talbert says, Chris, you need to grunt at the end of your rant. Your first rant when you did that at the end was hysterical. All right. I will keep that in mind. But we're going to get right to it. I want to wait until people are still joining. I have a very special video to play. You know what? I'll just play it. This is what you get for showing up early. But before I do that, I want to say my copy of Isam, is it Isam or Isam, arrived, and I got the cover B variant. It's awesome. It arrived yesterday. I'm very excited. So just wanted to show that to everybody. Let's see. We are going to celebrate Film Threat reaching 50,000 subs. We're north of 50,000. Now we're like 51,000. It's kind of crazy. I have a very special video to play. Alan has not seen this video. And I just want to point out, this is an idea I had a while ago. I'm like, oh man, this would be really fun. People love this Alan video. But we may have to retire that video because now we have this video. And I want to say, Glanuccio made this. Glanuccio made this video.
You mean my friend Glanuccio?
Your friend Glanuccio.
My good friend.
And this video, we're now going to debut it here. This is our thank you, really, from the bottom of my heart. 50,000 subs. Can't believe we got here in less than a year. More than doubled our subscribers. This video is for you. If you're driving and listening to this, you better pull over. You're going to want to watch this right now. Thank you for 50,000 subs. Alan?
That's just wrong.
How is it wrong? First of all, I can't believe that we could even play that. We could even play that on YouTube. I hope we do not get a strike. I hope we do not get a strike for this.
And you've just ruined a fond childhood memory of
Let's see. Are we
not going to get in trouble for that?
Let's see what the chat thinks. The chat, horror punk, that was amazing. This is just wrong, says Bethel Games. Classic, says Spaceman. Man in the Wiki, lol. This is so dumb. I love it. Like it's yeah, that's great. You back. Okay, I can't keep up with this chat. Glorious, laugh my ass off. That scene is burnt into my eyes, says Toker88. Oh, geez, can't unsee that. I really hope that's the intro for Attack of the Dock at Tucson, says X McDouche X. Cool. So there you go. That is our thank you to you. Glanuccio put blood, sweat, and tears into that. And yeah, we're going to post that for members. We're going to post that video for members so you can watch it anytime you want.
We're never going to make it to 60,000 now. It's like,
well, no, we'll have a very special treat when we get to 100,000. We're going to have something really, really amazing when we get to 100,000. But Alan, you should post that on your Instagram, Alan.
Yeah, that'll go right up on my Instagram. Let's do a TikTok. How about that?
Not the Batman says, if that's a thank you, I don't want to say welcome. Free the Allen, says David Glenn. Motorboat, says Boo Boo. Yeah, great. But let's look at that. The scene is so much hotter now, says Johnny Fuerte. It's amazing. Congratulations, Film Threat, says Toker88. That's great. But let's get right into it.
I can't watch that movie anymore now. It's like...
I love that film. That film also is way darker than you remember.
Yeah.
If you go
Oh, yeah.
back and watch it, there's like a subplot where one of the characters has to get an abortion. Like
Yeah.
it's way more serious minded. People always associate that scene with Phoebe Cates in Fast Times at Ridgemont High. That movie is, I mean, yes, it's a teen sex comedy, but it leans into some more serious issues. So, but let's get right into it, Alan. David O. Russell's movie, Amsterdam, is in theaters today. It is about a trio of friends who survive World War I, but not unscathed. They meet a nurse played by Margot Robbie. Christian Bale and John David Washington play the two lead male characters. Christian Bale's character loses an eye and is brutally scarred with a back injury. John David Washington's character is also scarred. He's got a scar on his chin, and he's also covered in scars from the war. Margot Robbie meets them as a nurse at this hospital in Europe, and they all become fast friends. Fast friends. This leads to a plot that takes place. So this is sort of the backstory. The plot takes place in the present day over a series of murders, and is someone being set up.
Present day by 1933.
Yeah, present day in the 1930s, but you see the how they became friends in Amsterdam, where they did drugs, they hung out, there was illicit sex. They lived a life of artists. They were Philistines, so to speak. And now they have to deal with effectively a murder mystery set in the 1930s with gumshoe detectives on their tail and whatnot. And this is where things begin to go awry. You would think from the trailer that this is a delightful, fanciful heist film. They kind of make it look like it's a heist film, right? Like they're trying to pull something off. It's not that. And I want to get into spoilers at the end of this, because they did something that I thought was just so obnoxious that I hated this film. I hated this movie for a number of reasons. One of the biggest reasons was John David Washington just acts like his performance is like he's just today. He's putting no effort whatsoever in trying to root it. Like Christian Bale is like, I am going 1,000% into this, because he's sort of a little off from his injuries. He's addicted to drugs. He's a doctor that self-prescribes, and he is unhinged in his performance. This is when Christian Bale plays a part, he's different in every role. I've come to the unfortunate conclusion that John David Washington is pretty much John David Washington in anything he plays, whether it's Tenet or Black Klansman or this movie. Fine actor, but he put no effort into this performance. He literally is, if you look at those three movies, he's the same in every movie. Someone's got to tell him, like, look, dude, could you at least, just put a little effort into making people think you're not you? Margot Robbie,
watch your dad's movies and do that.
And then Margot Robbie is this sort of unhinged, like super ultra feminist in the 1930s nurse who is an artist, and she's hanging out with these guys. And John David Washington's character is her boyfriend, or kind of boyfriend. They don't really call it anything, and it's like the three of them were acting in three different movies, and the only one that seems to have gotten the clue is Christian Bale. Christian Bale is his character. The way he plays his character is great. He's just unhinged, bizarre. He seems like he's from that era. He put effort into even his look. Margot Robbie and John David Washington, they're acting in two different movies. So the fact that this trio are the leads, we're already in a bad spot. Before I get into spoilers about Amsterdam, I want to hear what your thoughts were. Obviously, you loved it.
I did not hate it.
What?
I didn't hate it. I will say it very much. It's 2 hours 15 minutes, and it feels Feels like 3 hours, 3 to 4 hours. I think I'm starting to realize that, as a critic and as a guy who has to watch movies professionally, once that movie starts, you're kind of locked in, and you realize even if I wanted to, I couldn't walk out. And so, I appreciated what I saw. I didn't necessarily love what I saw, but I didn't, I didn't hate it. Yeah, Infinite Main talks about Alex, who wrote our review for it, 3 out of 10. I just kind of got used to it, and I'm going with faint praise here, and I just really do wish it had picked itself up. I was okay with the performances, but again, not blown away by it. But I think it's the ending that what we really want to talk about, and I think we have very different takes on that ending.
Okay, well, I just think that like David O. Russell swung for the fences, wanted to say something profound, and failed miserably. I was just like, I was really just annoyed by it.
Well, I mean, I think part of it is also he uncovered something that I never had seen, some actual footage of kind of a conspiracy that took place, where America could have basically gone the wrong way in World War II. And I was kind of fascinated by the fact that that might have been real. And so keep going. I don't know.
Okay, well, we're going to get into spoilers. We're going to get into spoilers here. So now is your chance to bow out on Amsterdam. We're going to not necessarily ruin the ending, but talk about an aspect of the ending. So what this film leans into is there's a character played by Robert De Niro that a group of elites want to pay him a lot of money to a foundation to give a speech, but he has to read the exact speech word for word. And this speech is a speech basically advocating for a political view of the world that may have sympathized pre-war, pre-Nazi Germany. Okay.
Well, I think it was more even tearing down the Constitution and bypassing elections and basically installing a fascist dictator as the ruler of America.
Yeah. So they want to pay De Niro, who is this decorated war veteran, war general. He's was a general in the war, and they want to like have him be like a sort of face person, a figure for this movement. And so these elites, played by Michael Shannon and Mike Myers. Mike Myers is actually very good. He's Mike Myers really in like a bit part with he's very good. He was good.
And I appreciate that he didn't go full Mike Myers.
He didn't go full Mike Myers. He just played
the role.
An oddball, right? So they want to pay Robert De Niro's character to give this speech. The general, and there's conflict about it. Like he's basically being propped up by people behind him to be a figurehead for a movement to effectively overthrow the United States. What you find out at the end of the movie is this happened. There was someone there was a
general.
There was a general that this is based on a true events. I don't want to say a true story, but true events that occurred. But of course, what do? They want to tie it directly to present day politics. And the crowd I was with, I saw it at the Grove in Los Angeles. They all applauded at the end. And I just sort of like, it was tepid applause at the end. I just kind of like put my head down, walked out with my buddy Cody. And I'm like, he looks at me and goes, "Did you like that?" I was like, "Fuck no." I thought it was awful. So the fact that it's just like, we're being lectured that, we're being told effectively, hey, there could be other people in our midst today that are trying to do this. David O. Russell thinking he's profound. And it's like, you had to go there. This thing looked like kind of a fun, quirky heist movie, set in the early 1900s. And it's It's another lecture from Hollywood. And I found it so off-putting. I walked out hating the movie. Cannot recommend it. It's gotten mixed to negative reviews. I don't know where you're at, Alan.
Yeah, I'll talk about the ending. It's weird, but okay, so when we're not doing big Hollywood films, we're doing indie films, and I've been watching a bunch of indie documentaries about basically this idea of fascism and where the world is going at today. And I didn't really feel like the messaging was. I don't feel like it was anti-American at all. I think it definitely dealt with fascism. It dealt with it was pinning it on the Aryan race, the Aryan nation. But at the same time, the core of it was these people, this cabal, so to speak. They were basically rich corporate dudes. And in watching a lot of these documentaries, it's essentially what's kind of going on today, in the sense of, I did an interview with the former Greek Minister of Finance, and he talked about how banks are basically owning Greece, and how banks, how countries that are getting more and more in debt are being swayed by, the banks and the monetary system. So I'm getting really conspiracy theory here, but I felt kind of I felt like that was happening here, in the sense of, who's really running the country, and who really wants to take it over. And so I took a very, I think ultimately, I don't think you could say this was a Trumpian message at all, or against Trump. It was, I'm just dancing around the conspiracy here, but there are sinister things going on, and let's just leave it at that, and give myself a chance to rethink what I'm saying. Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, I mean, here's a comment from Luther. Let me guess, MAGA. I don't think it's that. I honestly don't. I think maybe he's going after, after the left in a way. I don't know. Maybe you see it a different way. You're muted.
Sorry, I did not see it that way. I think this is a direct comment on Trump.
See, I don't.
MAGA Republicans, no.
I don't. Other than the fact that they're it takes place in 1933, so of course, white supremacy and the Aryan nation are the ones involved in it. But in terms of the systems behind it, the systems that led up to this, to the mystery that is going on here, I wouldn't necessarily liken it to. I always see politics as a battle for power. And that there are forces there that have vested interests in the extremes on both sides, and creating this division, this clash between it. And you saw it there between, the black soldiers and the and the Aryans who are trying to instate a white nation at that point. I didn't see the Trumpian aspect to it.
I thought it was very clear. It was a very clear comment on present day politics, and someone.
Well, yeah, I mean that. I just don't think it's the side you think it is.
Well, look.
Yeah.
It just seemed obvious to me that was the comment. So let's get to the. Speaking of comments, let's go to these comments. William Barr for €2. No, £2. Thank you. No. Sorry, this was another message. Thank you, William Barr, for that. We appreciate it. No one in the chat who's a member. Thanks, Chris, for speaking the truth about John David Washington. People thought I was crazy when I said they hired the wrong Washington for Tenet. Denzel Washington would have nailed Tenet better. Well, clearly, he's not as talented as his father. But what I've begun to notice, because he's been in 3 big films, he's the same person in every movie. He's the same person. And I kind of think like, and the fact that he really had an opportunity to do something different in this film, and he's just himself, was a missed opportunity. And the fact that at least Margot Robbie, I thought she was terrible in it. And normally I really like her. She at least put effort into being someone who wasn't her and someone who was from the era. And same thing with Christian Bale, and John David Washington just coasted. He just coasted. put almost no effort into it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what it is about these low energy performances or these low energy characters. I feel like if you're in a movie, you've got to be a little bit larger than life.
Look,
And
you could be low energy and be engaging and compelling, and
yeah.
he's not that.
Mhm.
He's not that. Horror Punk, thank you, FT, for saving me the time on another liberal woke turd. There you go. Captain Cook, man, I kind of like that trailer too, but I'm not watching movies to be constantly scolded. Agree. The trailer for this movie is really good. The trailer for this movie made me want to see Amsterdam, and I was disappointed.
Yeah. And you don't get scolded until the end of the movie.
Yeah. Patrick Lemire, hey, Hollywood, where's that drama based on Harvey Weinstein? Yeah.
Isn't that coming out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ari Bobble, thanks. Just saved me $20. Amanda Nowicki, stop looking at the past through a modern lens. I would agree. Not the Batman. Now I want to see a Mike Myers movie where another character says to him, never go full Mike Myers. Sadly, there are several actors in the mainstream love that play exact same character no matter what movie they're in. Too bad John David Washington didn't take more lessons from his dad, says CD Stein 69. And Maghaven, it seems like a super tame and watered down idea of crimes of the future. I don't know. I don't know if that applies to this necessarily. Sean Hu says, Alan's I didn't hate it sounds like I wasn't praying for a theater fire while watching it.
Yeah, I mean, I have to sit through the entire thing, and so there's I don't know. You just hate to start off with hatred, and so you just kind of let it go.
Patrick Lemire, does she keep her shoes on? That's a quote from Quentin Tarantino said that. Yeah, she keeps her shoes on. Deep fake Margot Robbie is good, says Derek Douglas. Brock Samsonite says, I've grown tired of Margot Robbie. And then Solomon Thornton says, Hitchcock said it best. It doesn't matter how many big stars are in the film. It only matters if the story is great. So, yeah. And, we got some super chats here. This is right. Patrick Lemire. If there was applause at a theater, it was definitely taken as anti-Trump. Bingo. That's what I felt. That's what I felt as I'm sitting in the theater. It's like this whole applause at the end. Cause like, wink, wink. We know what you're talking about. We know that this is about Trump, but we won't say it. Like, yeah. So, John Manilang, I'm about done with being lectured on my supposedly recreation time when watching movies or shows. I agree. It's it just gets tiresome. Matthew Hammond for $4.99. Chris, you need to play Mario Galaxy 2 if it is ever released on the Switch, as it is the best 3D Mario game ever made. I have heard that. I reached a point though in my gaming where I'm like, I realized I can't own every game system. Like it's become really expensive now where you buy the console, you're not done. You have to buy a remote. You've got to buy a second controller. You got to buy you got to buy too many things. And I think that was just, I never got to Mario Galaxy 2 because I sort of retired. Now I'm pretty much a PlayStation guy. I recently got a PS5. Yes. Thank you very much.
Finally. Yeah. Congratulations.
PS5. You know what? I've been so busy trying to finish this movie in preparation for screening Saturday, October 15th in Tucson. Actually, a week from today, I'll be doing the show from Tucson. So that's where I'll be. So Alan, you're running the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to be all you and Glenn. But yeah, I haven't even had a chance to set up the PS5. I've had it for like a month and I haven't had a chance to physically set it up and play. It sucks, but don't feel sorry for me. If that's my biggest problem, I have the best life ever. So I'm not complaining. Luther Talbert for 10. Well, until the end of time, the people will always need to watch out for elites, regardless of which side it is. I would agree. Although I think it's the left right now. I will never blindly follow the right. I don't like to blindly follow anybody. I just don't trust anything. And as you pointed out, Alan, it's just a battle for power.
It is a battle. Yeah, and the other thing is, my problem has always been, it's us or them, and you can't have anything in between. you know, if you follow the right or if you follow the left, you have to follow them completely. And so whatever they tell you, you need to believe it. And otherwise you're out. You're canceled.
No one in the chat has an interesting comment. John David Washington lacks his acting skills from the eyes. He is physically a decent actor. He is not able to convey his acting skills from his eyes that defines a decent actor to a great actor. So Akanika says, that's the point. They wait until the end to scold you, make you waste time, then give you a gotcha in the end.
Yeah.
And then
it's a 2-hour and 15-minute wait, by the way.
Patrick Lemire, Epstein the movie would be great. Actors could even play themselves. That's true. And have you seen the French Mario trailer? I have not. I have not seen it, but I'm sure Chris Pratt doesn't do it. So there you go. And Horror Punk became a member. Hey, you found that join tab. Thank you, Horror Punk. I've got some interesting videos I'm going to be posting after this live stream. I have some stuff to post. John Manilang, Nintendo, a Japanese company, has been culturally appropriating Italian plumbers since the 80s. And the hypocritic oaf became a member. Thank you for that. Aaron Rosenfeld, that's a spicier Chris Gore. That's pretty bad. That's pretty bad. I think that's pretty awful. So anyways, well, look, I cannot recommend Amsterdam. You know, look, maybe if you have A-list and you've got 3 movies to see a week anyways, pop in, but can't recommend it. Was frustrated with it. Like just sort of just cringing and groaning. And that's before we even got to the ending. The movie really doesn't work.
Yeah, it's too long. It burns very slow.
Yeah. So a few more comments here before we pivot and get into other stuff. Matt W. Watch his voice change over the course of the movie. It is an origin story. Talking about Mario, I assume. Release the Italian accent cut. Whoa.
What?
What? Look, I'm still pre-coffee. Folks. Alan dies a little inside every time Chris plays that video. Haha. Which video, though?
Let's just say the new one. Yeah, it kills me.
All right, I
have a new appreciation for that video now.
Yeah, there you go. And VDR says that's the director's job, to get a good performance out of an actor. I agree. I just think that he is out of his depth. I think he was very good in BlacKkKlansman. I think in Tenet, I don't know what the hell he was doing. He's really bland.
Absolutely.
So I thought he was bland. And it was, I mean, that movie's kind of a mess. But yeah. And then in this movie, it's whatever. No one in the chat says, how is it okay for people to do British accent, but not an Italian accent? It's a bit hypocritical. Bingo. No one in the chat. Bingo. Yeah. It's like, look, an accent's an accent, does it serve the purpose of the story? Yes. And regardless, like, look, Mario's an Italian plumber. It's a goofy thing. I'm sure they thought it was weird when they thought of it, but there you go. Even Schoolhouse Rock knew that if they patronized their audience, kids, they would tune it out. What happened to that lesson? That's true. I think people are just getting, yeah.
Can you imagine Schoolhouse Rock today?
The French Mario dubbing puts Chris Pratt's to shame. Okay, cool.
So what's a French-Italian accent sound like?
Patrick Lemire, Joe Pesci as Super Mario. That could work. And we got to get through these comments here.
Yeah.
218, John David Washington didn't even have a character name in Tenet, let alone any depth to it. Yeah, he was the protagonist. Wasn't that his thing? He was the protagonist. He kept saying, I'm the protagonist. He had no name. Get Bill Hader. He can do any voice, says Patrick Lemire. Yeah, that would have been great, but Bill Hader's not a star. So And then Derek Douglas points out most of the reviews say there's a parallel between Trump January 6th and the movie. There is. They're trying to draw that parallel. It's in the zeitgeist because it's talked about constantly. It's definitely that, Alan. So there you are. All right, let's switch gears here. Let's switch gears. And let's talk about, we don't have a lot of time. We've got like an hour before our guests arrive. She-Hulk episode 8. Alan?
Yeah. I've turned.
Okay, Alan, She-Hulk episode 8 has arrived. Daredevil is in the show. Give us your quick thoughts.
Yeah. Okay. So, I've stuck my neck out for the show, and it has finally let me down. And I will give you the moment. I will give you the moment of the show that just turned me. Okay. So we've got Leapfrog here. He's he got a suit from the tailor, the designer of Jen's outfit, costume. And there's these rocket jets, and while he's trying to escape the bad guys, the rocket jets in his boots catch fire, and he gets third-degree burns on his feet. And he insists that Jen's firm and Jen herself sues her stylist, her costume designer, and so they go to court. And they discuss the legal ramifications of. They're basically the villain here is product liability, and then it's revealed that that Leapfrog had been using jet fuel in his boots instead of regular fuel or whatever boot fuel has. So it's revealed in court, and Jen is left looking like a fool, which in my mind just basically said, wow, Jen Walters is the worst lawyer in the world. How is it that she didn't know this? How is it that she was so unprepared by this case? And how is it that she allowed herself to become a fool in a courthouse? And it was at that moment I realized this is not a legal. No one on this staff is a lawyer. Clearly, no one's ever. Yeah, it's like she is a bad lawyer. She is a bad lawyer, and it was all just thrown out here. And then later on, she goes on to win Female Lawyer of the Year, which in itself set off a whole bunch of other issues I had with it. And I think you Chris, you talked about that she's a flawed character. Yeah, one of her big flaws is being a bad lawyer. But the thing is. I feel like I've come to the realization that yes, she's a flawed character, but the showrunner and the writers do not know that she's a flawed character, and by their writing they've made her flawed, and they don't even see it. And so yeah, I'm done.
All right. Well, without getting into the story, because you kind of talked about it, It was a terrible episode. The guy who played Leapfrog was awful, and he had like these henchmen or goons, and they had a whole conversation about the difference between henchmen and goons. The guy who played Leapfrog, never seen him before. It was a huge opportunity for some interesting casting. They could have cast like a recognizable actor in that role that would have added something to it, maybe even some comedy, because he wasn't funny. And then for no reason, Daredevil now has a different suit that's kind of based on the original suit he had from the comics, kind of going backwards. And then the thing that really annoyed me, I'm not going to like nitpick all the like that the action was stupid, that the story is stupid, that like, okay, does the tailor now know all the characters who have secret identities? Does he know who Matt Murdock is? Because Matt Murdock is a customer and he's defending him. I find that a little suspicious. But Daredevil and Jen Walters, Matt Murdock and Jen Walters sleep together. They sleep. Who is Jen Walters?
They didn't even go out on a date.
They didn't go out on a date. They're like, skip the date. Let's just bang. And they went back to her apartment and banged, and that was it. And he did the walk of shame in his Daredevil costume.
Why?
Like, I know people said they're going to ruin Daredevil, but they did. You can't take this character seriously now. And when has Matt Murdock just sort of, casually slept with women? Correct me if I'm wrong, watching the original Netflix series, he seemed like he took his relationships much more seriously and didn't just leap into bed with a woman he's just met. And now is this going to carry over to the movies where we're going to get an Avengers movie and there'll be some awkwardness between Daredevil and She-Hulk because they slept together in the show? I thought it was terrible, embarrassing, and whatever promise the show held, that we saw in the beginning is completely wiped away. Then it ends with this, she's lawyer of the year, but then realizes she's on stage with like 10 other women all getting lawyer of the year because it's just some, scam. And then this sort of anonymous type message comes up. I know people are saying it's Doomcock. It does kind of look like his mask, but I think it's more based on anonymous. I think you're giving them too much credit that they would, the writers on the show would even know who Doomcock is. But the mask does seem a little Doomcockish, so you could convince me.
I was seeing kind of Pepe the Frog in there.
Pepe the Frog.
Pepe, yeah, the symbol of QAnon.
I've seen the documentary.
Okay, so I'll just say that they feel like. I feel like what we liked about the series was there by accident. That maybe they were throwing things in there that were clever, but then I'm realizing, well, maybe I'll bring up the point of the female lawyer of the year. There's one lawyer who, while receiving the award, she begins to complain about why there is even a category of female lawyer of the year and not lawyer of the year. They bring that on. It's a really good comment, and then they just let it go. It's like they brought up an interesting point, and then just let it float out there and disappear in the atmosphere. And if I was a good writer, I would have picked up on that, and I would have done something with that other than just make a comment about it.
Yeah. This again, another missed opportunity, and I don't even know what to say. It's just I'm not invested anymore. I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't think that it's clear the show doesn't like its audience. The main audience is the people who grew up reading She-Hulk. For the most part, I'd say male comic book readers. And the show hates them. And not only that, the show hates Marvel fans. It's just bizarre.
It's not for Marvel fans.
What's that?
It's not for Marvel fans. It's not written for Marvel fans. It's written for a feminist audience.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this: Why did Matt Murdock have to do the walk of shame? They hooked up. What is it about him that he had to walk out on her? I know. I don't understand hookup culture. I don't understand hookup culture at all, and she's fully embraced it.
Yeah, so I don't. Yeah, I think this is. I just think it's a terrible. So now you've got like a Marvel superhero, She-Hulk. How many guys has she slept with in the show now? 3.
Yeah, all on the first dates. All on first dates.
Yeah, all on first dates. She slept with 3 men. I don't know. Is this the show? If the show is not for male Marvel fans, is this for female Marvel fans? And kind of a way to go, well, Jen Walters did it in the TV show. I'll just sleep around.
Yeah. Well, I keep thinking, what would I tell my daughter? And it was like, here's how not to be a woman in modern America. And don't be like Jen Walters. Please get to know somebody before, preferably get married to them before you have sex.
Well, I just think that it's a, I don't know, what does she want? She just wants to sleep with guys. She doesn't want a boyfriend or whatever. Not that doesn't matter, and I'm no prude. Okay. But I'm just thinking like, okay, we haven't really gotten into, Tony Stark was also a guy who, slept with a lot of women. Finally kind of grew past that and became a responsible father and and married man, right? So maybe that's the pathway she's on, but I just think it's a bit much. It's a bit much, and it's not working for me. We'll go to some quick comments before we get to our next review. Ooh, Solomon Thornton, they had Daredevil in the show, and it still wasn't enough. No. What a shame.
You know,
Amanda,
one thing I want to say is, you know, I miss Angry Hulk, and I miss emotionally damaged Daredevil. I don't like that these two characters are normal now.
Amanda Nowicki, Daredevil was supposed to teach She-Hulk how to be a hero. He does the walk of shame at the end.
Yeah.
Pilgrim for 2. Why are they making Jen a slut? Yeah. Why are they doing that? Why are they doing that? Luther Talbert, Chris, you have great patience. Some of the chat on Midnight's Edge Monday was annoying with them gloating you that the show sucks. You've been clear since the beginning. Yeah. It does. It annoys me that I have to repeat myself.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you're not going to watch my channel and see the stuff, I'm not going to respond. I think I've come to that conclusion on Midnight's Edge in the morning that it's like, you need to watch Film Threat if you want to know what my thoughts are. So I'm not going to repeat it for the 10th time. She-Hulk episode 8, the bastardization of Daredevil would have been a better title. She could have bare Thanos all by herself with as much plot armor she has. She could have beat Thanos, says CD Stein 69. No one in the chat. I thought She-Hulk can control her anger better than Hulk. Apparently not at the end. True. Robot Dues. For being such a bad lawyer, she sure does like to talk about how mean old men like to tell her how to do her job that she is supposedly better at. Yeah, what annoys me also is I'm sitting here, okay, if she is a person that's not a superhero and she is a lawyer, she would understand about property damage. She fights Daredevil on top of a parking structure, destroys the parking structure. Is She-Hulk responsible for that damage? And all she was trying to do was like punch Daredevil, which if a punch that can break concrete had connected with Daredevil, she would have murdered Daredevil. Does she not understand this? That rooftop, and some people are saying, oh, that was kind of fun. That was a fun, like, but you don't think of the ramifications. Yeah. This is why the people
who was under that roof?
Yeah, no, who was under the roof that she could have murdered? She should have she threw a car, picked up a random car in a parking lot and threw it at him. Might there be a better way to capture Daredevil? It was ridiculous. And yes, those are superhero-y things that She-Hulk might have done in the comics, but she said here, she's a lawyer. She knows what's going on. God, it was bad. The show is not only written by children, but also produced, filmed, edited, says Foz. Derek Douglas.
I feel like, again, everything we liked early on in the show now feels accidental. That it was there by accident, and they didn't even realize that they had something good on their hands.
I think that what you and I were doing, Alan, was projecting. So those first 3 episodes I saw of She-Hulk, I'm like, hey, this is going to be... I thought that the people who were working on the show took it as seriously as I took it. And apparently we've discovered I take it more seriously than the people who get paid to work on it.
Yeah. The whole Emil Blonsky lawsuit was, I mean, it was like, yeah, that's okay.
That makes sense.
But then she gets into trademark infringement, copyright violations, and now product liability. Those are her big bad guys.
Derek Douglas, the costumes in the original Spider-Man TV show are better than She-Hulk. Question the answer. Hated the CGI Daredevil parkour shots. Yeah, those were bad. Amanda Nowicki, Jen spends more time swiping right on Tinder than she does at her actual job. Ramina Jones, I'm not a comic reader nor into the MCU, but really liked Netflix Daredevil, so hope this is not the trajectory for the reboot. Yeah, I mean, the reboot of Daredevil could be like a PG version of the Netflix show. It's possible, but I think the Daredevil that we saw in this show is not the Daredevil from the Netflix show. It's a different character. Thank you, Ramina. Matt W. Smash and Pass. B Sparks 917. Disparu's breakdown of this episode is superb. She-Hulk doesn't understand law because the writers don't, Chris, when will Hollywood stop hiring writers and directors with no experience? At least have one lawyer in your writer's room.
Yeah.
If you're right, the writer's room consists of one type of person. It's a single cat lady who drinks too much wine and hates men and has a cracked iPhone screen. No one in the chat. So female lawyers get participation trophies just like kindergarten kids at a soccer match. And Amanda Nowicki, Daredevil would never do a one-night stand in the comics. He had more respect for himself and women. I would agree. It seemed like out of character. Now, does it seem out of character for Tony Stark? No. Tony Stark, you know, he slept around, you know, but it seemed really out of character for Daredevil to do that.
I mean, I saw the first 2 seasons of Daredevil. I couldn't get through the other 2, but I don't think he ever hooked up with Karen in the entire series.
And Brock Samsonite says, also, she thunderclapped his ears and he immediately had a conversation with her afterward. Why were his ears bleeding from that? He talks about it like it was weird. Retro Nerd Girl. For me, She-Hulk is a show of cameos and it's lost whatever excitement I had for it back in episode 3. The storyline has no juice. Agree. Yeah, like episode 3, like Emil Blonsky stuff was like, this is interesting. This is something you could see happening in the Marvel universe, you know, and I thought that I falsely assumed they would take it seriously.
Yeah, and that they would take that case and elevate it, that the cases would get harder and harder, but it becomes civil lawsuits, basically. The other thing is they're taking these great villains of Marvel, Leapfrog, the Wrecking Crew, and they're just taking the power away from them, and they're making them jokes. And they could have made something great with these villains, but they won't. They can't now.
Timonim, they are trying to make every Marvel product into Guardians of the Galaxy without James Gunn. And BA for $4.99. It's a Mario. Yeah, why didn't we get that? Horror Punk. It wouldn't surprise me for Disney to troll Doomcock like that, though. They hate him with a passion. Yeah, I mean, but also, like, I kind of feel like that's more of a compliment. Like, if they're putting him in the show, it's an acknowledgement that this person is on their mind. So, no one in the chat. She-Hulk ruined another thing. She ruined hallway fight from Daredevil when it was just about to happen. Yeah, he was about to do some hallway fight. He's like, trust me, I got this. I have experience in this thing. You know, so yeah.
We need to have a conversation about this.
All right, wait. Chris, release the Italian accent cunt Gore. Hey, which show hates fandom more? Rings of Power or She-Hulk? Oh, I'd say She-Hulk.
Which show hates Rings of Power?
No. Oh, okay. Well, then maybe that's a good cue for us to switch gears here. We'll just do the super chats and we'll get over to that. Gabriel Quiroga for $5. This was the plan all along. Put a male-oriented industry through the filter of feminism. No more fighting or good versus evil. Only feminine themes agenda. I just think at what point, the thing is this, like, I'm sick of talking about it. Like usually when I don't like something, I just stop watching it. So I don't know how much I can.
Yeah, we have one more episode of She-Hulk to go.
It's one more too many. Pilgrim for $2. Sexual depravity damages people's souls. I just think it seemed like, okay, if they're going to establish Jen Walters as someone who sleeps around, maybe eventually, you know, she realized this may not be the right pathway.
There should be consequences for everyone's actions.
Exactly.
And that's what comic books are. You make a tough choice, and you have to work through the consequences of that. And we're not going to get that here.
Doc Savage for $5. I know Joss. Thank you for that. I know Joss Whedon is in timeout these days, but he would have made She-Hulk really good. I mean, it's a no-brainer. Yeah, he would have done a better job. Joss Whedon would have done a better job. He would have had sort of touches of feminism, but she also would have been fun.
She would have been a superhero.
She also would have been a superhero. I mean, eventually get to that place. Craptacular says it's difficult to tell whether Rings of Power hates the fans or the IP more, to be honest. Well, speaking of that, let's switch gears. Let's talk about Rings of Power. Rings of Power episode 7 is here. The Harfoots are back. The land is scorched. The queen is blind. Galadriel is covered in Cheeto dust. Am I wrong? Did it look like it literally the beginning of the episode? And by the way, I fell asleep watching it. I started watching it last night, fell asleep, woke up this morning, picked up where I left off, and lots of stuff happened that I didn't care. And by lots of stuff happened, I mean not a lot happened. I'm checked out on this show. Alan, what did you think of Rings of Power episode 7?
Yes, I'm checked out on the show too. You know, it starts off with the devastation of the volcano, and it's basically people. The entire episode is people sitting down. 4 people said, "This is my fault," and then 4 other characters said, "No, it's not your fault." And that was essentially the episode. I wish I could be more excited about the plot of this episode. I mean, the Harfoots and maybe Gandalf or whoever that guy is. It's just there's just no excitement. For some reason, these writers just need to have people sit down, talk, say their feelings eloquently, and then have someone respond to it. It's hard for me to talk about it because I'm not into the lore like Neurotic is, and unfortunately, this just makes me not want to care anymore. The mithril thing, I mean, I guess that's kind of exciting, but honestly, I think Disa and I for the life of me, I can't even remember the name of Elrond's friend there, the main dwarf. But they sound more like the villains than I think they're supposed to be. I think they're supposed to be the good guys, and that he's gonna ultimately become king. But they sound kind of like villains by the end of the show, and I'm not sure. Maybe they are villains, or maybe it's just bad writing. And I think that's the theme of this episode. It's just people talking bad, and bad writing and bad storytelling. So yeah, that's my take. I hate this show. I hate this show so much.
Yeah, I hate it. Where just like, I don't know what storyline left off. Some of the storylines don't seem to connect at all, like the stuff with the Elrond and the dwarves, which I guess and the Harfoots. Like, these things aren't connecting. So what's the point? I mean, the thing about Game of Thrones that you could say, for all the things you could critique about it, everything connected in some way. It was all about the game of who's going to sit on the Iron Throne, right? Like that, everything connected to that ultimately in the end. Even the side characters played a role in that in some way. And the side quests don't make sense, mainly the Harfoots and dwarves. All of the other conflicts I don't seem to be invested. And then there's a style, and it really struck me. I'm like, why do I fall asleep every time? I came home from the movie last night. I saw Tar with Cate Blanchett. Came home. Nerdrotic is on, so I'm watching Gary talking about it, and he gets so into it. And knows all the lore that I'm like, oh my god! Like I don't want to be that into it. It's like EFAP. He's like EFAPing the episode. Every Frame of Pause, which is another show that I would recommend. That a guy named Mahler. I'm sure you've heard of Mahler. He's very good and does that show. He's got a lot of great videos. Then I started watching the show. So I got a little preview from Gary. Then I start watching the show. I fall asleep every time. I think the timing of it is, and also the other thing is I began to notice, I noticed this today, and I'm surprised. Like, I mean, I may have commented on this before, but it really stood out with this episode. Everything happens very slowly, Alan. Do you think that things are going to progress slowly as the show continues towards its inevitable end? Well, I'm not sure, but it's almost as if they took the opposite direction. George Lucas was very famously quoted when he was making the original Star Wars. He had one direction for all of the cast, and he repeated it ad nauseum. faster, more intense.
Mm-hmm.
They might have benefited from that direction. This is literally slow, chew the scenery. And I'm literally in my head, because I'll watch it with the closed captioning on, because I want to be able to pick up, the names and everything. I like closed captioning for certain shows.
Mm-hmm. This is definitely one.
This is definitely one that benefits from closed captioning. But what struck me as I'm watching it, because I'm seeing the text, is how much you could have edited the dialogue. Like if you were going through the script, this line's unnecessary. This is repetitive. This doesn't matter. Already been stated, implied. This is in the subtext. Like it was crazy. Like I really think that I could cut every episode of Rings of Power in half and lose nothing. You would go, wow, the show moves a lot quicker. But I feel they're so proud of themselves. They're so proud of themselves.
Yeah.
I'm
sure they watch it and they think they did a great job. They got the look down. I'm sure they love their dialogue. They love hearing their dialogue. And the worst part is each episode is an hour and 15 minutes. House of the Dragon isn't even an hour long.
Yeah, no, House of the Dragon's like 50 minutes usually,
mm-hmm.
like an hour. I mean, I think there was one episode that was like an hour 10, but it feels like the episodes for House of the Dragon are the length that they should be.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and they're packed. They are absolutely packed.
Yeah, so much happens in one episode. More happens in one episode of House of the Dragon than has happened all season of Rings of Power. So, I can't. I'm over it. Let's go to your Rings of Power comments here. If we have some, let's get to it. Justin Stoll for 10. They should be surprised the audience by not. They should have surprised the audience by not airing the last 2 episodes. Then have real Galadriel waking up from a nightmare and telling her husband, "Is it Celeborn or Celeborn? Celeborn. I've had the worst nightmare." William Barr is a new member. Oh wow, William Barr, former Attorney General of the United States of America, became a member. I'm sure William Barr gets that all the time. I'm sorry, William. Infinite Main, excellent impressionation, Chris. Yeah, that's the show. That's the pacing of the show. It's awful. Zaven, actors delivering lines like a high school student trying to hit a timer for giving a speech in class. Aha. Yeah, it's almost like, and look, I've been guilty of this in the past, when you pad your word count because you're getting paid by the word. Back in the day, I wrote for some outlets that paid like $1, $2 a word. Journalism hardly pays that now, but yeah, I would pad my word count.
And it's very Saved by the Bell too. The morals of these stories. And
Bad Adam 12, the slow dialogue is the new padding. They certainly made Isildur look like a dork, and Elendil is the only one showing emotion while all the women are just stoic, says Robot Dudes.
Yeah.
Captain Ten Cook, not even elvish medicine could save this show. Its wounds of vanity and empty spectacle have run too deep for any salve. I love the word salve. More interested in Alan's dog than Rings of Power. Your dog is getting a ton of treats. She's not. Look, your dog is not earning those treats, Alan.
I know. Well, she is by making noise.
Yeah. Stop making noise.
I will tell you, though, House of the Dragon. House of the Dragon is so good. The screen can be black for 10 minutes, and it's still more exciting.
Yeah. Okay, let's go here. Going slower is not thoughtful. It's a mask for having nothing to say, says Akanika. Bingo on that one. More interest. Okay, yeah, we got to that one. Michael Tynan for 25. Thank you so much. Hey, gentlemen, we'll never watch Rings of Power. Thanks for guiding me away from it. So take my money, please. Oh, well, there you go. There you are. Thank you. Thank you, Michael, for that. That's very generous. We appreciate it. No Lord of the Rings. Scanners is being adapted. HBO, thoughts, please. Not LOR. I thought Lord of the Rings. Scanners is being adapted by HBO. Thoughts, please. Derek Douglas for 5. That would be great. I think Scanners on HBO would be really awesome. I think the first season of Westworld was great. And I think the way it ended, it should not have been a second season. The first season of Westworld ends with a real ending, right? And there was no reason to make an additional season, and then they did, and I watched the first couple episodes and I was out. But HBO is better at making television than Disney.
Mm-hmm.
I think Disney might be the worst. They don't know how to make TV shows. They just don't know how to make TV shows. Part of it is the system. I think part of it is that Disney is a very corporate company to work for. I've had friends who work at Disney that work there no longer, that come out of the experience saying, I'll never work for Disney again. I'll never work for a corporation that treats their employees like this. It's like a cult. It's like a cult. But yeah, Scanners being adapted by HBO could be good. If it's like the David Cronenberg Scanners, it could be very good. Alan, do you have any thoughts?
I mean, HBO's been doing television for a very long time. I think they were the first early on, just doing episodics. And so they have...
They're not the first doing television, Alan.
But the thing is, they're
first doing
for
TV.
pay cable, for premium
for
cable.
Pay cable. Yes.
Yeah. All right. And, and because they're allowed to explore, sensitive subjects. I mean, everything they've done is essentially rated R. And so they were able to perfect the adult content, adult dramas better than any pay cable company, any network could do. And so I think that they've proven they can still do it. Disney is, like you said, is very new to the game.
Yeah. All right, more comments here. Let's go. Andrew Eterno is a member. That's the problem with taking a traditional classic structured screenplay and stretching it out to 8 hours. There's not enough payoff. Mm-hmm. It has to be more complex for audiences to be engaged. And Fear the Turtle 21 says, a convo with a coworker summed up Rings of Power for me. I haven't watched, but when asked if he likes the show, he said, people seem to like it, so I feel like I'm supposed to. I'll pass and read the books.
Sadly, there are no books other than the originals.
CD Stein 69. The shot of Galadriel after the volcano reminded me of Timmy Timmons in Sandlot when the vacuum blows up. The Alex Zorba says these asshats will have every free-thinking human beings cheering for Sauron. Yellow Moth. I hate this show. I hate this show so much. Quote, Alan. Volcano eruption are gentle. Who knew? Says Fat Elvis.
Mm-hmm.
Patrick Lemire, streaming is evil. If Rings of Power was a movie, they'd make one for 300 million and the sub 100 million box office would be the public and it would be over. Derek Douglas, these YouTube shows are better than most of the shit from Marvel and the woke brigade. I will say this. I do actually enjoy, for shows I don't watch, I like to watch a YouTube show talking about it. So for example, I never saw one episode of Batwoman. I only saw that terrible trailer, the original trailer that came out, it'll be perfect once it fits a woman. Speaking about Batman's outfit. And then Az from Heel versus Babyface did reviewed every episode of the show. Oh, and it was so funny because he would go into this incredible detail. And it was, oh my God, it was just hilarious. Oh, it drove me nuts. Justin Stoll for 5. On a scale of 1 to 10, how bad is Rings of Power's dialogue? The sucks in every respect, but the dialogue is just abysmal. The dialogue is just drawn out. I feel again, it's trying to get a word count.
No, I think they're also trying to be Shakespeare. They're trying to be poetic, and they don't understand how that works. Give me the meat, give it to me raw. I mean, I don't know who. I don't know. Is that a saying? Did they steal that from something, or did they feel like that? They did something clever. I feel like when that line came out, they were clapping and patting each other on the back.
I feel like they thought they might have been proud of themselves. Tertiary adjunct. I've seen more Rings of Power on delivery boxes than streaming. Here you have the most expensive show of all time, TV show of all time. Here are your results, kids. So, let's see. Pilgrim for 2. Adam Post has some good insights into David Zaslav. Adam Post? Is that a post from
maybe he's a YouTube guy? I don't know.
Oh, and Andrew Eterno, chiastic means like ABBA structure. Oh, sorry. I thought we're getting a lot of misspellings these days on the chat comments. So I try to decipher some. So chiastic, I'm not familiar with that word, Andrew Eterno. So thank you for educating me on that. Rings of Power tries to be Shakespeare, ends up being Shatner, says Yellow Moth.
Well, you don't have to be that mean to William Shatner.
Yeah. And then well, let's William Barr says Jen's box took more rockets than Syria. Talking about She-Hulk. Oh my God. Horror Punk. It 100% seems like Disney shops at IKEA and the Halloween store for their costumes and props. That's possible. That's possible.
Isn't there an IKEA in Burbank?
Yes.
There you go. We found it.
CD Stein, 69, says She-Hulk has been made into a hookup addict in the modern run, but what others have said about Matt being a very devout Catholic and wouldn't do it made Daredevil do the walk for women empowerment. Yeah, I think, I just didn't get it. We have like just limited time today, so I'm just going to do super chats to wrap up this discussion. Fuzzy for 2. FNT plus FT plus others are becoming a better G4 than the original G4. I'm sorry to say that I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. And A Knight for $9.99. Rings of Power showrunners as Buffalo Bill. Would you watch me? I'd watch me. I'd so watch me. That's my terrible Buffalo Bill accent. So yeah, Rings of Power. I don't know why we're still watching it, Alan. Why are we still watching?
Yeah. Because those are some of our highest viewed videos. I hate to say it.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah. But part of me is like I feel like I don't have anything new to say about the show. I feel like they're not improving, they're not growing, they're not evolving, and they're just doing the same old episode after episode.
Yeah.
Nothing's changed.
Yeah. Boy, I don't know what to tell you, man.
I mean, are these showrunners not able to take notes? Are they beyond criticism?
No idea. But let's get, look, we've talked about a lot of things that are not great today. Unfortunately, Amsterdam, a pass. Rings of Power continues to be insufferable. She-Hulk is awful, but there is a movie that is coming to theaters soon. It is, let me get this up here. There's a movie that is opening in limited release this weekend that will be in wider release soon. It's from Focus Features. It is called Tar. It stars Cate Blanchett as a tortured artist. She is a world-renowned composer. She is an EGOT. She's won an Emmy, a Grammy, an Oscar, and a Tony. She's one of the few people who've won an EGOT, her character. And her character also happens to be gay. She is a lesbian. The movie is not about her being a lesbian. She just happens to be. This is the kind of story. This is where Bros failed. The whole movie is about the sexuality. This movie is not about her sexuality. It just happens to be gay. She's also a composer that is smarter than you, cares more than you, is more talented than you, and she lets you know it. She's incredibly arrogant, filled with hubris and disdain for anyone that doesn't recognize her wild talent. She is surrounded by luxury in Europe, where she has I guess, did they call it a conservancy, where she puts on performances with an orchestra that she personally chooses the people that appear in her orchestra. The trouble is that she plays favorites. She plays favorites with people she may have her eye on. and gets herself into what one might call a Me Too situation. And if this were played by a man, it would be sort of blatantly obvious. And this film is a comment about, do people in power abuse that power, I think, regardless of their gender? And I would say that that's true. But what I think is interesting is that have the ability to abuse their power, not that they will do it, but have the capability of it. What's interesting about it is, I mean, one, just visually, this movie just had me. The sound in this film, the sound and the sound design, she's especially sensitive, to sound. So if she hears like a sound in the distance that is troubling, she'll try to stop it. But Cate Blanchett she's a lock for being nominated for Best Actress. So you'll be hearing about this movie during award season. She will be nominated, if not win. It's a type of role that an actress doesn't normally get to play. And this will spark a debate. This will spark a debate about this, what the movie's trying to say, which the movie is commenting on modern cancer culture, because she gets caught in this. It's one of the best scenes in the movie. She's teaching a class at a university, and this Black gentleman is saying, well, as a BIPOC, this, whatever, artist, I don't really feel that the white male composer, and she just rips him apart about all his woke nonsense. It's a great scene in the movie that had everyone in the theater laughing. Like, she just rips woke culture apart, and it's awesome. Trouble is, someone was taking video footage of her while she was doing this that leaked online. And this leads to, in addition to her dalliances with people she favors in the orchestra, and a woman who may have been driven to suicide because her reputation was ruined. She's ostracized. Her life begins to unravel. You end up finding out that Lydia Tarr is not her real name. She's originally looks to be Jersey, and her real name is Linda. And she built this facade, this fake image of herself. I'm not going to get into spoilers about the film. I probably already said too much, but this is one of my favorite movies of the year. I think it's going to spark a big debate in this sense. That one, I think it's refreshing to see a woman be a complete asshole in a movie. I mean, she's cruel. She's an asshole. She's entitled. But a lot of the behavior is something that you would see traditionally done by a male character that would be unlikable, right? So why is it then women appearing to be assholes in movies, they just take on male attributes? I don't think that you necessarily need to go that way. This was a discussion at the Q&A. And if you're a member of the Film Threat YouTube channel, I'll be posting video that I shot from the quick Q&A session. I was like in the third row in the theater, so I had a good shot of Cate Blanchett. She discusses her role. So it's like a 5-minute video just for members. But Alan, you need to see this movie in a theater.
Yeah, I do.
Please see it in a theater. It's only playing in one theater in Los Angeles. It's at the Grove in Los Angeles. I am dying to see this movie in a theater again. It's but the thing that's innovative about it is, normally roles that women take on that go to win Oscars are, she's a champion. She's a champion for social justice. Look, she's abused. She's abused and belittled by the horrible men in the movie, and she puts on this great performance. Nobody fucks with Tar. Okay? In this movie, nobody fucks with her, and they find out very quickly, if you cross her, what the consequences are. She's very political and she's very strategic in the way that she has relationships, and it's but it's not unkind. It's not an unkind view of her. It's not unflattering in some respects. You respect her because she is so wildly talented when it comes to music. And the ending of the movie, I'm not going to give away the ending of the movie. I had to stop for a second and say, wait, what? The ending will blow your mind when you think about it, because there's a line, a very casual line at the beginning of the film that she kind of brushes off, that pays off at the end. That's so good that I thought it was awesome. So, yeah.
So is this a female Harvey Weinstein story then?
Yeah, it kind of is. It's I mean, she's not as monstrous as Harvey Weinstein in terms of, rape and whatnot. Yeah. But
she uses her sexuality to get what she wants.
She uses, I would say she uses more her intelligence than sexuality, but she is very strategic and transactional in her relationships, with friends and people she's surrounded by. So she gets what she wants.
Yeah, and she thrives off the power that she's built in herself.
Exactly. But what's refreshing about this is, yeah, women can be assholes. Women can be cruel. Women can use feminine wiles to get what they want, no matter who it hurts.
Yeah.
And she hurts a lot of people in this. The thing that saves it is it's Cate Blanchett doing it. So you're kind of like, well, I like Cate Blanchett. She was good in that one Thor movie. That was the good Thor movie, Ragnarok. And she's fantastic. So women
can be as flawed as men, basically.
Women can be as flawed as men. Who knew? But I'm so tired of, when you look back at like women who have won Oscars, many of them were victims, meaning the character was a victim. She is not a victim. Okay. She is not a victim. There are victims in the movie for sure that have suffered, but wow. And it's also just I just also like, cause you like her. She's really likable. Like, she is gonna. This is gonna be the best symphony ever. This is gonna be the greatest thing ever. What do you not like about Beethoven? What's wrong with Beethoven? He's a cis white male, and she comes at her students for that criticism. It's that takedown scene of woke, but it comes back to bite her. And what I love about it is it doesn't lay any judgment. It's not saying that what the black student is saying is wrong. This is where the culture is now, right? He tries to sort of, it's great because it's like the type of conversation that's being had in universities constantly. That's, you and I would find irritating, and it just goes for it. That scene, like when it got to that scene, which is early in the film, I'm like, oh my God, I love this movie. But then it came back to bite her. Oh, it's so good. So, this is one of the best films I've seen this year. It is a lock for Best Actress for Cate Blanchett, and the screenplay is fantastic. Cate Blanchett doesn't leave anything. Like, she is, and you've seen, this is what's great. We were talking about John David Washington earlier from Amsterdam. He's the same in every movie. Cate Blanchett is very different in her films, and this is a part unlike any other, and blew my mind. So if we have comments about Tar, let's discuss it. We've got two special guests coming. We have at the top of the hour, the director of Terrifier 2, director Damien Leone, and Operation Seawolf writer-director Stephen Luke will also be joining us. But until then, let's get to your comments real quick.
Alec Baldwin is in the movie?
Alec Baldwin?
Tar, right? Yeah, he's listed in the credits. So. He plays himself, apparently.
I don't know. I went to the bathroom once during the movie. I might have missed it.
All right.
So, let me get to these comments here. Back Fiendish 2 on Indiegogo has two comments here. Notice how the decline of Hollywood production quality took a massive hit after Harvey was yeeted. Coincidence? I think not. I mean, the one thing that Harvey Weinstein put aside, all the stuff that he did was horrible. And the fact that all of Hollywood was complicit. They let him get away with it. There's not a big Hollywood star that is not photographed with Harvey Weinstein. Make sure that you spread those photos. Everyone knew he was a horrible human being. And people chose to work with him anyways. Because he's a guy that said, no, not good enough. No, not good enough. No, not good enough. No, the movie's got to be 2 hours. No, that he was a guy that was, yes, an asshole, but sometimes, and Tar leans into this, sometimes to be a great artist requires you to be an asshole and to push for things. I just know when there are projects that I've won, Alan, there are times I've been an asshole.
No, not you, Chris.
But I like to think that I'm an asshole for good, not evil. I'm trying to make Film Threat a website that people will read and respect, and will also cast a wide net where we cover indie films. And that just sometimes I gotta push for things that people don't see the big picture. Now, like I think we're doing pretty good now, Alan.
Yeah,
I think we're doing pretty good. And then back, she goes on to say, back Fiendish 2 on Indiegogo, scratch the decline part off my previous comment. Cosmin Christani says, I'm definitely seeing Tar now at the Grove. Thanks. Yeah, you will be amazed. Kate Blanchett. I can't think of a female performance this year from a female performer that is better. Haven't seen it yet.
What's amazing to me is other than the press releases we get, I have never heard of this movie, and I don't know. I don't know anything that would attract me to want to see this movie. It feels like a foreign movie, but you're telling me it takes place here in the States.
Part of it does. It takes place. She flies between New York and Europe, Germany.
Yeah, I know zero about this other than the fact that I got invited to a screening.
Sounds like my last girlfriend. Haha, says JTP RX. Perfect cue. Even when they have women as the bad guy, they always give you a flashback of how they were abused or everything is a misunderstanding. They don't do that in this. They don't give her an excuse for her behavior other than her unrelenting passion for being the best. And I'm all for it. I'm all in. But wow, like you really need to. I like a movie that makes you pay attention, that makes you lean in, and there's not a wasted line in this. That's why it's like when the ending of the movie comes up, you're like, you may have missed the line that kind of references this, that pays that off. And it's awesome. William Barford too. Asshole was the gunner, Dark Helmet's battleship. When is Tar released in the US? It says 23rd of January, release in Australia. Derek Douglas will look up the US release date.
Yeah.
But it's limited release at start, and then we'll expand. I plan to see it in a theater again at least another time. Patrick Lemire, wokeness in music schools is attacking classical for its predominantly white male musical canon. It is a thing. Yeah, absolutely. Captain Cook says, you can write a downright evil main character so long as there is no sense that you're reveling in. When the evil seems to happen senselessly, though, that's when your audience will turn on you. That doesn't happen here. Your mileage may vary. You may come away with it with a different opinion than mine. That's all movies, for one. Shelby AC, this sounds like the plot of The Human Stain with Anthony Hopkins in 2003. God, yeah, I vaguely remember that movie, and it may have elements of that. Going to watch it if it rips woke culture. Yeah, it does in a scene, but it doesn't. It's interesting. It rips it, but it doesn't judge it. This is what's different about this movie. It allows you to judge for yourself. Okay. This movie Tar allows you are going to judge for yourself. You may actually, because Tar is the protagonist, in your mind, she might be the hero. F it. She's earned it. But you also look at like how she's affected other people. It's a hard movie to look up because when you look up Tar, what comes up is actual Tar.
Yeah. Okay, so it's coming out wide release on October 28th, and it's 2.5 hours long.
Yes, and it's earned its running time. Okay. It gets a little longish in the middle, but there's not a wasted scene. Fur to the Future is a member. Sad that Kate's legacy of being Galadriel is being tarnished by Board of the Rings. Yeah. Doc Savage says, Kate Blanchett is so good in almost everything, if not everything, if not in almost anything, if not everything she's in. So there you go.
I agree.
Romina Jones, I've been listening to reviews of this. She is supposed to be unlikable or complex character. She's supposed to be unlikable, but it's Cate Blanchett. When you cast Cate Blanchett, she's just likable because she's Cate Blanchett. Okay, because we're coming in with impressions of her, and she's, yeah, they call it complex. I just say, the simple way of putting it is she's an asshole. She's an asshole in this film, and she does terrible things, and we're seeing the story play out from her point of view. This isn't from the point of view of a victim, and she's not a victim. She is not a victim. But, and doggone it, people like me, says Horrorpunk. Patrick Lemire, you guys are being forced to review the worst restaurants over and over. All heroes don't wear capes. Let's see. K Knight for $9.99. Do you think it would be helpful to do a concerted joint effort to reach out to the showrunners of Rings of Power to get them to do a Star Trek 1 and 2 to 2 type of change? I don't think it matters. I think that they're free to listen and or ignore us. I don't know how much it will matter. So, yep, there you go. But yeah, appreciate the. Oh wait, we have another one here for $4.99. For Rings of Power, do you think they reached out to actors like Cate Blanchett and had the current G work with her to emulate her, the current Galadriel, or too arrogant to do that? I'm pretty sure they wanted nothing to do with Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings. Zero. Is this a female version of Whiplash, says Perfect Q? No, I wouldn't say that. Maybe there are aspects of it.
But there's no student or she's not mentoring anybody.
She is mentoring. She's mentoring. She has like a muse.
But that's not the main story. That's right.
But that's not the main story. It's really a lot of the controversies surrounding her. That's what it's about. And there are multiple controversies. So there you go. Scott says the first rule of Film Threat is you constantly talk about Film Threat to everyone. Well, thank you for that. Womp Biscuits, if you're a director and you have Cate Blanchett, you give her the script and back away and let her do her thing. She's one of those true talents that you don't dare direct. I'll say this, because the director was at the screening last night. You'll see the video, and the members will get to see the video later today. It's the script is very good. The script is very layered. It was made during the pandemic. The director talked about that he started writing it as the pandemic began. So that's pretty quick. In less than 3 years to I wrote the script, got the money, made it. Boom. Pretty amazing. So, and then I see 246 watching, but only 163 likes. Come on, peeps. Let's get the likes up. Yeah. And also, if you have not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. This is your reminder. If this is your first time watching one of our live streams, slap that subscribe button.
Oh, wow.
And by the way, I'm not the only one that says this. A lot of people say this.
Holy fucking shit, these reviews are delicious.
That's right, folks. These reviews are delicious. And there we are. So Tar gets a strong recommendation from me on my list of my favorite and or best films of this year. Cate Blanchett is a lock to be nominated for Best Actress. And regardless of what people say about it, you should go see the movie. Don't read or watch any other reviews. And I plan to see it again in a theater. Maybe we should revisit Tar and Alan.
Yeah, I will definitely see this movie.
Great. Good. Well, then we'll talk about it and discuss it more.
Yeah.
Now, switching gears, let's get right into it. There is a film that is out. I think it's out today. I will be corrected if I am wrong in that. We have writer-director Stephen Luke is here with us today. He is going to tell us everything about Operation Seawolf. Stephen Luke, welcome to the Film Threat Livecast. You are here. You were waiting patiently in our digital green room. How's it going, Stephen?
Oh, I'm so excited. Guys, so I'm going to try not to fanboy, but I love watching you guys' show. So,
thank you.
I love it. I love all the YouTube videos. I watch them all the time. So, like Chris, the Film Courage videos that you do. I'm sorry, I don't mean, maybe I can't give another plug for them.
Go right ahead.
I love those videos, dude.
Thanks.
I love listening to them. They're just fantastic. So everyone in the chat, I highly recommend checking out all of those things because it's so true. All true.
Wow. Well, look, I know we have limited time today. We got a packed show. And I appreciate the compliments. See, it's nice to know. People in the chat wonder, hey, do filmmakers in Hollywood, do they listen to the feedback? I think Twitter is a terrible place to have a nuanced conversation. Twitter is awful. You know, you've got limited, a word count. Things jokes can be misinterpreted. But I really feel the best and most nuanced conversations I've had are here on YouTube. So I'm really happy that you would take the time to talk to us and that you actually listen to the audience at YouTube is great. But your film, Operation Seawolf, please correct, it's out today in theaters and on demand. Is that right?
Yeah. So out today in theaters in demand. It's a number of theaters in some select cities. So yeah, really excited for people to get a chance to watch it. Just like every movie, you're just excited to kind of just get it out in the world.
Well, just so we get it right, Operation Seawolf is in theaters today. It's on demand, and it'll be on digital October 25th. But Dolph Lundgren is in this thing. So once I knew that, how is this guy, Dolph Lundgren? I have to ask you about working with him. But Dolph Lundgren, how is he so chiseled, like he hasn't aged since Rocky IV? Like, he's amazing.
I would have to say it's probably in his genes. He definitely was born. I mean, obviously being a big fan of Rocky IV, as I'm sure most people are. I mean, the man just has incredible genetics. That's for sure. And but also saying that, like, he works really, really hard. I don't want to say like in the gym, but I mean, he really does. He watches his diet. I mean, he knows what it takes to kind of keep in shape, and he's follows through with that to perfection.
Tell us about the story for this film. It is a genre that I think people are familiar with. It's your submarine intrigue. Tell us about the story and how you came to you're the writer director. So this Operation Seawolf was born in your brain. So Tell us what got you here talking to us.
Okay, so fun little story. I'll start with the second part of the question first. My producing partner, Andre Relis, came to me with a request. He goes, "Hey, Dolph Lundgren wants to play a submarine captain. What do you got?" And so, I kind of specialize, and I'm a history major, so I love historical films. I love doing World War I, World War II type of movies. So with that kind of knowledge in mind, and I had worked with Dolph in the past in another project. So I just I took with that. I did spent 2 weeks doing some research on different parts of the war that I thought were interesting, and just kind of fleshing out a character. We put together like a big outline storyline for him to review. I sent it over to him. Sent him over to him. Literally within a few hours, Dolph said, "I'm in. I love this. I love this character. I would love to work with you together to kind of develop him, flesh him out, and create the story." So, I mean, getting to work with Dolph, the storyteller, and obviously the actor, but just the incredible storyteller that he is, to kind of help craft the story. I mean, what an amazing, fantastic experience. And I mean, he's amazing to work with.
Well, I want to talk about some of the special effects and the action sequences. And just for people, the link to the trailer is in the description of this video. So go and definitely watch the trailer later after the live stream. But what were some of the challenges in putting together the special effects and action sequences? I mean, this movie looks epic.
Yeah, so this was kind of my first time really getting a chance to utilize a lot of VFX work in terms of the action sequences. It all takes place on the water for the most part, or I guess underneath the water. So, kind of just coordinating, the live action photography that would happen inside the submarine or the Navy ship. We shot on 2 live locations, the USS Cod in Cleveland, Ohio. Please go check it out. It's such a great location. And then we shot on the USS Iowa, which is in San Pedro, California. Awesome. So just kind of coordinating both those worlds. That's kind of my first time getting a chance to really tell actors, okay, so there's going to be a fight over here. You're looking that way, and just trust me. All right. And boom. Okay. Now react. And, it's fun to get to do that. And then kind of just take that footage and obviously, put it in with the VFX later on. So
cool.
It was a lot of fun.
We've got questions in the chat, so hopefully we can get through these quick. But they're loving. Scott says, "Hail Steven." X McDouchey X says, "Hail Steven Luke." Welcome Steven says, "Back Fiendish 2 on Indiegogo." Fur to the Future says, "Dolph is a legit rocket scientist." Is that true?
I can't necessarily speak to him being like a practicing rocket scientist, but he definitely is in that category of. Wow. If he chooses to talk rockets, I mean, you're gonna be blown away with what he knows.
And then Captain Cooks has a question: is this movie in any way drawing inspiration from Das Boot? That and Red October are my favorite submarine films.
I mean, I'm obviously a big fan of Das Boot, Red October, and yes, I mean, I would say I tried to find a different aspect of a story to tell than Das Boot and the Hunt for Red October. And just kind of try to give a different maybe thought perspective on what these guys went through in a submarine. So one of the things that I always was fascinated with, and it's very true, these submariners, they volunteered, almost all of them, to do it, and it's a very dangerous job. So it's a different group of guys that kind of fight in that environment.
Did you get a sense of why he wanted to do a submarine movie? What was he looking to do? In that genre, I
think you mean Dolph.
Yes, yeah, Dolph. Yeah.
I mean, I think he kind of wanted to, as I kind of got to work with him on developing the character. I mean, I think he wanted to really kind of dive into a character, and that wasn't necessarily Dolph is an action hero, and I mean he is incredible at that. I think he really wanted to, kind of really try, I don't say try on his sea legs for acting, but he really wanted to play a character and be confined to a space that's, he's going to have to rely on his acting ability. And Dolph is an incredible actor. He's fantastic. And I wish more people would give him those types of roles and parts because, I mean, he's incredible.
Yeah. There's not a lot of fistfights on a submarine. So.
Not a lot of fistfights.
Another question here. Want Biscuits asks, one piece of trivia is that all interior sub scenes were filmed inside an actual World War II submarine. How did you get access to that? Did you have to pay the Department of Defense to do so?
So, like I said, the submarine that we shot on, the USS Cod, it's a memorial museum run by a private. I'm pretty sure it's a private organization, and I honestly I knew they had done some documentary footage filming on it in the past. I reached out to them to see if they'd be interested. And to be honest with you, I mean, they were really excited, but I put the word, I put, hey, Dolph is going to come visit the sub if we shoot there. And they were in. They're like, Dolph Lundgren, he's going to be in our submarine. We're sold. We're in. Whatever you guys do.
That's great. Let's see. And another question here as we wrap up. Shelby AC asks, was it claustrophobic being inside a submarine?
So I don't get, I can handle tight spaces pretty well, but I will say this, we had, and I know this is very true to the submarines, an oxygen issue where we had a lot of bodies in the submarine, cast and crew, and it was hard to breathe. I mean, at times, just in terms of oxygen. And, if you look really close, especially in some of the more intense scenes of the submarine, you can kind of tell that the guys are having trouble when they're not delivering their lines, but they're gasping as if they almost kind of ran, and did their lines. Well, I mean, there was limited oxygen sometimes in the submarine, and we really had to, open up the hatches and and pump oxygen in at times. I mean, nothing dangerous. It was interesting that those, experiencing exactly what those submariners would have had to experience.
Unfortunately, we have to leave it there. We have a packed show today. But writer-director Stephen Luke, thank you so much. And it's great to find out that you're a fan. A lot of our viewers wonder, like, does Hollywood listen? Do they kind of listen to the audience and what the audience wants? So I want to thank you for coming, connecting with us directly. I assume you're going to be back on the show at some point. And God, congratulations on the movie Operation Seawolf, out today in theaters, on demand, on digital, October 25th.
Awesome, guys. Thank you so much for having me. Please don't ever stop doing these things. It's so important. We do listen. We do hear. I know others are that way. Please keep it going. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. Steven, take care, man. Have a great weekend.
You guys too.
Awesome. Later. What a great guy, dude. That was great. I don't know. I just love it when we get like an opportunity to talk to filmmakers. This is part of my not so hidden agenda with Film Threat, is to introduce the audience, to different types of filmmakers, to get direct access so they can have a conversation. Because at one time, every single one of these filmmakers that come to talk to us, they started as a fan. No one who goes into the movie business doesn't love movies. There's a movie that usually at a young age that kind of captures your imagination, that turns you into a film fan, that takes you down rabbit holes of either specific filmmakers or genres or actors or, different types of film franchises or types of storytelling, like science fiction, fantasy, or horror. So I just love connecting our audience directly with filmmakers. And on that, our next filmmaker is the madman behind Terrifier 2. And all I'll say is this is the most over-the-top, horrific, gory film I have seen probably since Psycho Goreman, and it tops Psycho Goreman. Because Psycho Goreman could be argued as like it's partially a comedy. And while there are some comedic moments in Terrifier 2, this is an old school, like tip of the hat to the 80s gore fest like you've never seen. It's in theaters today. In fact, it's playing at the AMC Burbank 16, which is my local theater. I will find out if it's on demand or whatnot, but I'll tell you this, it also leaves nothing on the table and nothing to the imagination. It is a horrific story of a clown that may or may not be imaginary, that gains delight in dismembering and torturing victims. This is for hardcore gore horror fans. Okay. And we have the director with us, Damien Leone. Damien, thank you for joining us on the show. Good to see you. I noticed that you follow Film Threat on Twitter, so I followed you back. Thank you for being here.
Dude, thank you. This is an honor. I am such a fan of yours, man. This is unbelievable. Unbelievable. Thanks for having me, dude.
That's cool, dude. Whoa, this movie. And there's so many it definitely felt like, the movie may be set present day, but there's something about it that felt like a nod to the past, like 80s horror. What inspired this? What inspired Terrifier 2? Not just the story, but also just the look. And by the look, I mean, like, I was paying attention to like the decor in the kitchen, which made me laugh because it doesn't look like a modern kitchen,
Right. Oh my God. Listen, I was born in 84, but I still consider myself, I was like tapped into the Matrix very early on. Like I have memories from 2. My mother named me after The Omen and was obsessed with horror movies. So she showed me horror movies from the time I was like 2-3 years old. No joke. And but it wasn't just horror movies either. It was like Jaws, but Commando, RoboCop, Rambo, Beastmaster, Red Sonja, which played a huge part in Terrifier 2 with my love for the Sienna character and where I took her. So, I have been watching horror movies since I'm a little kid and obsessed with 80s horror movies. And then I would say about the time I was 7, I was already obsessed with Jason, Freddy, Michael Myers, all the usual slasher suspects. And I would always rent VHS tapes. And when I had Friday the 13th Part 6, and at the beginning of Friday the 13th Part 6, they had the coming attraction to Tom Savini's Scream Greats, which was an hour-long documentary on the behind-the-scenes, him creating Jason and the Monsters and Creepshow. And when I saw that, like a light bulb went off. And because I was always already an artist, I would draw comic books and things like that. But when I saw him creating my monster heroes and things like that, I said, that's something I could really get into. And then a few years later, like 5 years later, when I was around 12, because I was still very young, I was like 7. But then 5 years later, I actually got to meet Tom Savini at a horror convention for the first time. I was super nervous, but he was so cool. And then someone else happened to be selling starter makeup kits and fake blood, mint flavored fake blood. And somebody else was selling real machetes that were dulled, and they had the semicircle cut out, which is the classic Tom Savini gag. And my mother bought all this stuff for me. And when I got home, that was like the first day of the rest of my life. And I've been on that trajectory ever since. But yeah, man, it's wild.
Well, I don't think there's anything I can say that would prepare an audience well enough for this movie. I mean, it is like insane over the top. Like where I'm looking like, how did the actors stay in character long enough to even finish some of this stuff? Because the movie and this character that you've created, the clown, is horrifying. Like there's a scene at the beginning of the movie where there's a very bloody murder, and the clown just goes to a laundromat, nonchalantly takes all his clothes off, washes them in the washing machine, and then goes about his merry way. But it's played so straight, it's like not for laughs, and you're like, am I supposed to laugh? I mean, the tone of this film is like it's nuts. And then of course you've got the hero, which the lead, I forget the lead character. She has the angel wings.
Yeah, no, played by Lauren Lavera. Yeah.
Oh my God, she's so good. And the movie takes place like during Halloween. So they're all in these Halloween costumes, going to a Halloween party. And she's dressed as like this warrior princess with angel wings. She's kind of dressed for battle,
yes,
which is so great. So it's like, oh, there's a logical reason she's dressed that way. Right. It's actually perfect. And then that actress, there's a scene near the end of the movie where she's in this tank of water. And I was just like, and there's also like fire effects. I don't want to ruin too much of it, but like there are things where I'm like, oh my God, did anybody get hurt during some of these things? I mean, that must have been a concern, safety.
Sure. No, thank God we made it through without any issues. Thank God, because that's always a concern, obviously. But this was intense, man. And this was, it's a really low budget movie. It's when people finally, I mean, I don't know if it's smart to talk about budgets and things like that, but we had a very, very low budget, and it was a lot of work. It took us, I told my cast and crew it was going to take 3.5 months, I figured, because this was an ambitious movie, and that's a long time. And it wound up taking almost 3 years to make this movie, just because of so many obstacles thrown at us. For the first time in my life, because I do all the makeup effects, and for the first time I knew this movie was so ambitious and there was no way I was going to be able to create all these. So I wanted to hire another makeup team for the first time to take like 40% of the burden off. And they wound up bailing out because of budget, and we couldn't come to an agreement like a month before we started shooting. And now I was really behind. And I told my producer, Phil, I said, what are we going to do? Do we postpone? He said, we can't keep postponing. We'll never make this movie. We just got to jump in and figure it out. So there was a lot of stop and go. We'd have to film up to a point. If a kill scene came up, we'd have to break, and Phil would be my makeup assistant. So I took over all the effects again, and we'd have to take a week or 2 weeks to build these effects and then continue shooting. And that's how it went over the course of a little over 2 years or something like that. So it was wild, but man, I mean, I don't know if we like talking about spoilers or anything, but there is one big kill scene in this movie that most people know what it is. It's like at the halfway point. It takes place in a bedroom, and that took us, we actually shot it for 2 days before we got hit with the pandemic. And I knew it was not coming out to my liking. The effects because there's a sort of infamous now hacksaw scene in Terrifier 1 that everybody talks about. It's very graphic. And the fans of this movie want us to sort of rival that. That's all we hear. It's like, oh my God, Art the Clown and the hacksaw scene. How are you going to top the hacksaw scene? So I knew going into this, we had to come somewhere close. So I found this image in a book of Jack the Ripper, one of his victims. And it was so disturbing that I said, my God, if we can touch that. It was one of his victims on a bed, just so horribly mutilated. You couldn't even tell it was a human being anymore. I said, if we take that and sort of reverse engineer it, and that's one of Art's victims, we show how this person could possibly end up in that state. That might be interesting. So that was the mindset going in. But I knew I wasn't feeling what we were doing. It wasn't coming anywhere near the hacksaw scene. And then when COVID hit us and we were forced to just break, I said, this gives us an opportunity to reconfigure this entire kill scene. And I started it from scratch. And Phil and I built all of these effects that turned this scene into like a 2-minute and 40-second kill scene. That's pretty graphic and insane, especially the fact that it's playing in theaters. And it's not rated. I mean, a lot of people are just walking in really not knowing what to expect. And when they see that scene, it's pretty wild. It's quite an experience. Yeah.
Well, we have a lot of questions and comments in the chat. Do you mind going to the chat? And looks like some people have already seen the film. CD Stein 69 says, this was amazing as a horror film. Goober says, gore on gore. Nice collection, Damien says, Furred to the Future. Horror Punk says, hail, Damien Leone.
Crazy. And
Patrick Lemire says, what a mom. With your mom, that story you told. And Alan Horkin says, coulrophobia equals a fear is a fear of clowns. And Zavin says, sounds like there's no CG in this movie. I think there might have been one shot I noticed, like it was a CG enhanced, but all the gore effects are not, it's all real, it looks like to me.
So if I could, I mean, I'm happy to talk about this stuff because I'm proud of it and it's cool. Like, so it is like 99% practical, all the gore, but there are these little tricks that we did. Like, for instance, there's a scene where I guess we can just go into this. I mean, that one thing that happens to that woman in the room and she winds up a mutilated corpse on a bed and it's a dummy. I mean, it's just that I built a silicone replica of her. And I wanted the audience to believe that this was a dummy. I mean, like, it can't possibly be the actor anymore. It's so horribly mutilated beyond recognition. But then it wakes up, and I really wanted that to shock the audience. So it was made a very kind of crude way because I don't know anything about animatronics, but I knew I could turn this into a rod puppet since it was a set. I had people under the bed operating it, just like a tubes in the chest, making it breathe. But what we did with CGI was once she wakes up, I had like her eyeball open. So we had the actress's real eye CGI'd onto that. And when she says mom, that's another fake head, but that's a CGI, the eyeball is put on. And then there's a decapitation scene in the middle where we did the same thing. We had this wonderful head that we built with all these blood pumps and all this, gore and meat and bacon and whatnot inside. But then we digitally put the actor's face on it. So when it's getting severed, you can get the reactions and you can see the mouth twitching and the eyes blinking, and it's kind of really unsettling. So I love that marriage of practical to enhance the digital to enhance the practicals. It's something that Guillermo del Toro does beautifully. The first time I ever saw that so effectively done was in like Pan's Labyrinth when the general or whatever gets his cheek slit open and you're looking inside his mouth and it's like, oh my God, that's just like, you can't do that with practical effects. So yeah.
Are you ever afraid of going too far, or do you ever think about going too far in that NC-17 category? Or,
yeah, for sure. I mean, not that I'm aiming to ever get an R or anything like that. Especially like I've never even had to deal with that because my movies have been so low budget. They never had to be presented to the MPAA or anything like that. But I do love pushing the boundaries as far as I can go. But I do still try and walk a fine line of accessibility, and I don't want to alienate everybody. Even though I know this is already very extreme, perhaps for a lot of people. But when I think of a scene and I write a scene, I imagine 5 steps further I could take it. And then I say, oof, that's way too far. We're going to really just alienate everybody. And I don't want to fall into that category. And it's another reason why there's such a heavy fantasy element in this movie. So hopefully that could ease people into the graphic violence where you walk away saying, you know, this isn't Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer. It's clearly, you know, steeped in fantasy, and we're not supposed to take this, you know, that seriously. Hopefully that's where I'm coming from. Yeah.
We got a lot of questions and comments here. X McDouchey McX says, my hat's off to you, Damien. That shit was pure filth. CD Stein 69 says, saw it last night in the theater, had a little feel of Elm Street 3 with a perfect fitting soundtrack that had 80s synth vibes. For this one, what were your inspirations exactly?
That is a blatant inspiration, Nightmare on Elm Street 3. There's actually little montages in the movie that are, you know, straight homages to that. Like the opening credit sequence in Nightmare on Elm Street, Patricia Arquette's building the house, and it's intercut with the credits. In this, Sienna's building her costume, and that's intercut with the credits. I mean, just that heavy fantasy element that we were, you know, weaving in dreams, and you didn't know when dream was reality, and vice versa, things like that. So huge influence. That's one of my favorite horror movies of all time. That's actually, it might be my favorite of the franchise. I mean, it's tied with Part 1, but they're neck and neck for me. I love them both equally.
Also, Art the Clown is getting a lot of love in the chat. Sick class of 1984 poster, bro.
Thank you.
Which is great. Oh my God, we just have, this is crazy. 99. Let's see. X McDouchey X. The practical effects was absolutely disgusting. There was a couple that left the theater midway. Fucking glorious. Scott says 99% practical, 100% sick.
That's cool.
Yeah, and then there was a comment here earlier. I'm trying to find it about your favorite. Here it is, Goober. What's a favorite movie that's behind you? Like you have obviously have a great collection there. Favorite film from your shelf there?
I mean, my favorite movie of all time is Jaws, so I would have to say that. Yeah, just leave it there. I can go on. We could turn this whole thing into a Jaws rant.
That's awesome. And let's see. Art the Clown is what horror needs these days. Hell yeah. And then did you do all the practical effects yourself, says Horror Punk?
I did. I did. I would say 99% of them. My assistant Phil, my producer Phil Falcone, who is the only reason why Terrifier exists, because nobody ever believed in it or wanted to give me money when it was just Terrifier. So he was the first guy to say, yeah, you know what, dude, I'll give you the money. He's like, I just want to. He's not even a horror fan, which is hysterical. He still isn't. But he just had recently got into filmmaking, and he wanted to learn to do special effects, or at least just hang out with me, be by my side while I was doing it. And he's still my assistant now to this day. And he was the one who just helped me through Terrifier 2. And he got really good at making molds, and he mixes the silicone with me. I even let him sculpt some things. But aside from that, maybe there were a couple of other days where I had my friend Alana Rose come in. She was actually on Face Off, and she painted Sienna's costume, and she helped me mold some people and things like that, painted a couple of body parts. But I really did 98% of all the effects in the movie.
Manuel Munez says, saw Terrifier, the first movie this weekend. It was awesome. Horror Punk says, my wife and me are obsessed with Art the Clown. Whoa.
Yeah, I had to ask one of the questions that's in the chat, but working with Chris Jericho, what was that like? I know he's a big horror fan.
Amazing, dude. It was so surreal. I would hear from friends all of a sudden, because I still have so many friends who are huge wrestling fans. And they would say, dude, I was listening to Talk is Jericho, and he just mentioned Terrifier and Art the Clown. And I was like, wow. And I knew, because I was actually watching wrestling a lot around like 2005 and stuff like that. And he was like, you know, he still is huge, but I mean, he was really famous then. So I knew exactly who Chris Jericho was. So I said, oh my God, that's friggin' insane. And then he wound up getting in touch with David somehow, who plays Art the Clown. And he got in touch with me, and he said, dude, you know, huge fan. I love what you're doing. He's going to be the next face of horror. He said, if you ever make a sequel or something, I'd love to be involved somehow. And I was like, oh my God, are you kidding me? I'll totally do that. So I wrote him this little part, and he's in the end of the film. And he just flew down, and we spent 2 days shooting, and he was such a cool guy, man. Makes you feel at ease immediately, and he's a huge horror fan. So it's great.
You got some, the comments are coming in faster than we can keep up. Fourth 1000 for 10 says, Terrifier 1 offended my mother-in-law, my girlfriend. The kids were ushered out of the living room. Had to finish it later in the night alone. From the bottom of my cinema heart, thank you for this.
My pleasure. Thank you, man. Always down to offend people.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. And then CD Stein 69 says, if you had a chance to do an established horror IP, obviously other than Jaws, what would it be and where would you go with it?
Oh, easy. One of my dreams would be to direct Friday the 13th, a Friday the 13th reboot, because Jason's always been one of my biggest slasher heroes since I'm a kid. Look, I would like to make him scarier if possible. Not just like brute strength and violence, which obviously would be a huge part of it. He would have to be just a relentless axe murderer in this. And I would also love to set it back in the early 80s. I think would be amazing. Get rid of cell phones, get rid of that headache and all that, and keep it pure, but scarier and very graphic. Very graphic.
We got these comments are great here. Here we go. Let's see. Art the Clown is the best horror icon since the 80s icons.
Oh,
that's
wow.
awesome.
That's
So Mariusz says, oh, fuck it. Gonna watch it tonight. Love Damien's passion and story.
Oh, thank you.
So, and Scott asks, what does your mom think of your movies?
This is funny, actually. All right. So my mother, like I said, she was the one who introduced me to horror movies, all these cool movies. And she had to make a lot of sacrifices because it wasn't easy, having me live in that house. Like, I destroyed every piece of furniture she had and every bit of grout in her bathroom from the time I was 12 years old, playing with fake blood. I mean, you name it. It was not easy. So at some point, I'm always trying to please her and make her proud with these movies. And she does still love horror movies, and she watches more new movies and action movies and stuff than I do to this day. But when I had a rough cut of Terrifier 2, and I was so excited to show it to her. So I went to her apartment, and it was her and my aunt, and I set up my computer, and I sat in the back on the couch, and I watched them watch it, and they didn't know, and I was filming their reactions. And he was literally just cursing me out through the entire movie, just covering her eyes, turning away, and just saying, "What is wrong with you? Oh, nobody's gonna watch this. Nobody. This is way too far. Way too far. What happened to you? What you know what I mean? Like, all these things." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "You're the one who did this to me." I'm like, "Aren't you happy? Aren't you proud? You know how much work went into this?" And she was like, she's like, "I'm proud of you. It was good, but you lost me." She's like, "At some point, this isn't for me anymore." So it's kind of a badge of honor, but I'm also kind of sad. But she did sit through it twice. We just had the New York City, our red carpet premiere with the cast and crew, and she did come down for that. So, and she was still covering her eyes and making noises and stuff. So, yeah.
Well, I got some more comments here. Horror Punk says, thank you, Damien, for bringing practical effects back to horror and showing the industry how it's done. Sifax says, rare that sequels look better than the first, but Pearl was better than X. Now Terrifier 2 looks better than the first two. Good job. And Fur to the Future says, do we have to watch Terrifier 1 to know the story?
I would say actually you don't, because they pretty much recap everything in part 2. So I already ran into people who've seen when we were at Fantastic Fest. This guy came up to me and said, I never saw the first one. I jumped right. He's like, I loved everything about it. He's like, now I'm going to go back and watch the original. But he had no problem watching it. So
I would agree. I haven't seen the first, and the second one. Yeah.
Okay. See?
You get what you need. You get what you need to get.
Yeah. The first one is so simplistic. That was one of the big criticisms of part 1, was that it really didn't have a story or protagonist you could really get behind, sympathize with, empathize with. And, it kind of was a showcase for Art the Clown, because I knew we really had to just swing for the fences, get him out there, and hopefully people grabbed onto him and gravitated toward him. But going into part 2, I say, like, we got into the club, like it's like the bouncer let us in, but now it's like, all right, there's the dance floor. You got 5 minutes or whatever. It's like, hit it, show us what you're made of. And I really wanted to grow as a filmmaker, and I take all those criticisms to heart. I read everything. I'll go through every YouTube video, letterboxd reviews, you name it. I want to know what's not working or what could be improved upon, if I could rectify something. So I took so much time really focusing on the heroes, especially Sienna in this movie. I really wanted people to be on her side during this journey. So hopefully it worked.
Glanuccio says, the way you just describe how you'd reboot Jason, please give this man the rights, and I want to be involved. X McDouche X says, Sienna is the perfect female protagonist. She got the shit beat out of her and still had gravitas to push forward and showed how fucking strong she was. And then Scott says, with a name like Damien Leone, how could you not be an awesome horror director? And he also goes on to ask, does Damien have kids? Have they seen his films?
I don't have time. I've been, Terrifier 3 for 3 years. Oh my God, it's not easy. I've been living in Terrifier world for so long, but I would show them this movie at, I don't know when exactly. I mean, when people say, that your kid's too young or something, I totally get that. I mean, I'm not advocating that you should show your 3-year-old or 4-year-old, the movies I was shown at a young age. But it didn't turn me into a real serial killer. But I do make movies like Terrifier. But
And then let's see. He goes on to say, is Art the Clown a metaphor for the brutality of the filmmaking process?
It could be. It could be. And I'm going to take that and run with it. I'm going to say yes. That's what I had in mind all along. It's a lot working on many layers here.
And Solomon Thornton says, Damien, for your next film, please bring in The Undertaker.
I said, well, I got the Jericho connection. Might be able to make it happen.
Brock Samsonite, will you be paying homage to killer clowns from outer space at all?
I don't think so. I love that movie so much. That's another one of my childhood favorites. Yeah, who knows? I pay homage to so many things in my movies. I'm so proud of the movies that have influenced me that I love just giving nods to them wherever I possibly can. I mean, there's like blatant nods to Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Halloween 1 and Part 2. I mean, they're all over the place. So, and
just a couple more questions we'll get through. No one in the chat asks, any chance of you directing another remake of The Omen? Damien.
Never been asked, but I would love to. I'd be open to it for sure, man.
And Horror Punk, who is a fan, says, is there an official site to get Terrifier merch?
Yeah, terrifierthemovie.com, and also Terror Threads has a really awesome designs, shirts and things. Yeah.
Well, Art the Clown is a new icon. You officially have the most over-the-top, gore-filled horror film of the year that is a must-see for Halloween. I'm telling you, put this on Halloween. It'll clear the room. It'll clear the room. You're going to find out who the real horror fans are. I'm telling you. So it's in theaters now. It's coming. Is it coming to video on demand soon? Or
it is. It's going to go to, I don't know the exact date. I believe it is the 21st. It goes to Screambox, which is sort of like a Shudder. So it's exclusively to Screambox after the theatrical release. And then it's also around the holidays. I believe it's going to hit physical media, and there's going to be a 4K and a steelbook and things like that. So, I'll be posting that stuff on Instagram and Facebook and everywhere.
And a couple final comments. Andrew Aterno says, I'm stoked on the future of horror. It's coming back and it's being taken seriously. Very exciting. And hail Damien. Thanks for dropping by, says Fur to the Future. Awesome. We appreciate it. Damien, thank you so much for coming by the Film Threat Livecast. You got to be back to talk Terrifier 3.
Dude, thank you so much. You have no idea how often I watch all of your videos, dude. I love where you're coming from, the way your passion for movies, and the way you deconstruct everything. Brilliant, dude. You have such a big fan here. So thank you, man.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. The chat loves you. Congrats on the film Terrifier 2. It's at the AMC Burbank 16. If you're in Southern California, see it in a theater. See and count the people that walk out and then post it on social media. Damien, thanks so much. Have a great rest of your weekend.
Thanks, guys. Likewise.
Yeah. Later. Bye-bye. What a great guy. It was awesome.
And that was a rough movie to get through too.
Yeah, it was. No, dude, it's
relentless.
Sienna, the lead. That's what's cool. Like, she was such a great. The woman who's the lead in it is so good. You're just so convinced, and she's great. She also just seems more real. That's what I like. Is just more realistic feeling. You can see her right there at the very bottom, right there. That's her. You can see in the graphics, she's dressed for Halloween and then suddenly trying to be murdered. So she's being attacked by a murderous clown. and she's just in her Halloween costume, which happens to be a warrior. Anyways, we're going to wrap things up here. We have had an insane show today, and I want to thank everybody for sticking through, watching Alan and I, for also watching the video. We should probably play it again. Our thank you for 50,000.
I think people
No. I just
enjoyed it enough.
Oh, we have
leave them wanting more.
Wait, we have a super chat here. Super chat here from Michael Tynan. Tar's character sounds like Mozart. Yeah. It's you'll need to see it for yourself. I think there's going to be a lot of conversation about this gender role would normally be a man. It's like, no, women can be assholes too. Women can be assholes as well.
Well, I'm just afraid that conversation is going to kill the film.
I hope it doesn't, because that's not really, it's really like this character study. It's please see Tar, and at least this conversation, look, what happens to Tar in the movie where she kind of schools this kid in college about, the white male classic composers, and she just schools this guy. And then that video, of course, gets out.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, the woke don't see the irony in that. And that's going to be the worst part about it.
Yeah. Fur to the Future, great director interviews today. Horror Punk. Hail, Damien. Thank you so much for your time and hard work. My wife and me are fans for life. Great show today, says JTP RX. And Retro Nerd Girl says, amazing show today. Thank you. Thank you for sticking with us. We had almost 300 people watching us today live. We are building something. So we want you back every week. We'll be back next Wednesday at 1 p.m. Pacific time. We'll be doing our show. And then I'm off to the Tucson Film Festival. I will be in Tucson a week from today. I'll be doing the show from Tucson. And then I'm showing my movie that weekend, Attack of the Doc. I hope that you go check it out. Go to filmfesttucson.com to check that out. Also got to thank Glanuccio, who did a bang up job. Oh my God, killing it with the thumbnails and this video. He put way too much time into this. This video is our thank you for reaching 50,000 subs. Let's take a look at it one last time.
You've ruined my childhood.
Yeah, but no, we really want to thank you for the 50,000 subs. We're on the road to 100,000. That'll be our next celebration. Maybe we'll celebrate at 75. We'll have like a halfway point. 75,000, we'll have something special. But 100,000, we're going to be having a big celebration. We might even do like a special live stream just for that. But I want to thank you for that. Want to thank Glanuccio, killing it. Everyone in the chat. And also we have a Discord. Folks. Where is that link? There's a link somewhere about our Discord. Where is it? Film Threat is now on Discord. Continue the conversation on the Film Threat Discord. It's on our members tab. You'll see there's a link to the Discord, and there is a link in the description of this video to our Discord. Alan, what do you have before we say sayonara?
Oh, just continue to visit us at filmthreat.com. I think we're supposed to be at Newport Beach next week.
I had to get the super chat for two. I just had to get that in there from Zach. Thank you so much.
What's Owen Klein going to think about that? Really?
What's that?
What's Owen Klein going to be thinking about?
What is he? I don't know what he's going to be thinking about that. Is he watching?
I hope not.
Is he in the chat? Owen Klein, who was on the show about a month or so ago for his movie Funny Pages, just appeared on the Criterion channel. He got to go to the Criterion offices and pick movies. You should watch that video. It's like 3 minutes. So yeah, this is something we're definitely going to sell. Alaning pasties. What we should do is get round Alaning photos, just your face. And if you would like to take shirtless photos of yourself
Oh my god.
where you put the sticker somewhere.
See, you're gonna get us banned off Discord.
No, can we get banned on Discord for saying stuff like that?
I
Will
think you
people
can.
complain?
I don't know. I wouldn't put it past them.
All right. Well,
No, just
look,
saying.
Scott says Alan is the best sport, zero ego. Good on you, dude. See, people love you. Alan is a superhero for taking all this abuse. Lol, Fuzzy. See, Alan is he's gonna relate to the victims in Tar.
Yeah.
He's gonna relate to them. But thanks everybody. I will be on FNT in 2 hours, and I have to eat something. I'm starving. I gotta get out there and eat something. Alan, final comments.
I said it all.
And
I swear we're gonna get in trouble for that.
let's get out of
Get out
here.
of here.